Hi guys. I don't know if you can hear me. Just doing some quick prep. I really should have done this before, but what are you gonna do, right? What are you going to do? So yes, I was actually cutting turnips, or well, I was about to, and then I stopped, and then I had to do other things. I got Rabby, since he had his like brain injury. Man. Evening Star, your hair looks great. Oh, thank you. That's so kind of you. Rabby, since he had his brain injury, has only been eating millet and seeds. And so I got him today. Hi Alex, how's it going? I got him some soft pellets. They're supposed to be like sorry. Anyway, sorry, what was I saying? Crap. I got distracted. So right, I got soft pellets for Rabby. Because he's really only eating seeds right now since his brain injury. And no, I did not finish cutting the turnips. I started cutting them and I was like, fuck it. So I stopped cutting them. And then because cutting turnips is actually really hard. And I was just like, I don't have the energy for this right now. So as you guys know, Rabby had his brain injury maybe a month or so back, maybe a couple of months back. And so I have 4 budgies. One of them is Rabby. The rest of them are Gojo, Egghead, and here. And so anyways, since Rabby had his brain injury, and he already has a heart problem, by the way, and he's already got genetic issues. So now he's got like a traumatic brain injury. And ever since he's got his brain injury, he only eats seeds and he only eats millet, which is not healthy for a bird. You want your birds to eat pellets, right? Like they're not in the wild. They're not going long amounts of time without food or water. They're eating regularly. They have water available to them all the time. And, you know, the seed diet is really for a bird that is constantly like flying and constantly like searching, right? It's like high fat for a reason. But when they're living in your home and they've got all the modern life luxuries, they don't need seeds. It's, if anything, you're making your bird fat, right? And with his heart problems, I definitely don't want him to be on a seed only diet. But since his brain injury, he's only been eating seeds. So I got him some soft pellets. They're supposed to be better for birds who are like picky eaters, and he certainly is one. So I'm hoping and praying that he will eat the soft pellets. I'm good, Star. I hope you're doing well too. I saw your reenactment, or at least I saw part of your reenactment of the law case. I saw you're pretending to be Rom, which is pretty funny. Good job. And I see you're around a lot, Alex. So I hope you're doing well. So that's the updates with Rabby, basically. I got those soft pellets today, so I was like, look, Rabby, and the soft pellets smell. By the way, I just want you guys to know the soft pellets smell. But I took some of them out. I shake them. I showed them to Rabby. He seemed uninterested. I put them in his food bowl mixed with his seeds. So I am hoping that he'll eat these since he's not eating his other pellets. So, and then obviously there's a typical roommate drama between the birds where Egghead today was trying to take a nap, and both here and Gojo kept talking to him while he was trying to take a nap. So, pet food usually does. Well, okay, the other pellets don't smell that much. Like the bird pellets don't really smell that much. And the seeds don't really smell. Actually, if anything, like budgies are the least smelly pet I've ever had. If anything, they smell good to me. They smell like grass and nature, But these soft pellets definitely give a smell off. Of course, he doesn't want to eat smelly pellets. Well, he wasn't eating the non-smelly pellets before because I think they're too hard for him. He doesn't want to eat like hard food. or stuff that's like too big. So I got him the soft ones that are supposed to be, you know, stuff that birds like a little bit more. And it was expensive, by the way. Those soft pellets are expensive, and I feel like he better eat them or I'm going to be disappointed in him, but I'll still love him. But yeah, that's what's been going on. Rabby is the same. He's stable. He's still living in his little padded cell, and I'll take him out to interact with the other boys, but then Here is still obsessed with Rabby, so he still tries to hump him, and Rabby can't take that because he's a sick bird, and also because he's like, what the fuck, and he doesn't like that. So, and I don't know what it is about Rabby. He's like clearly got a genetic defect. His feathers don't develop normally, but all the other birds are attracted to him. They all want to make him their bride. I don't know what's going on there. And the poor guy is just sick and tired all the time, and, you know, he just doesn't have the energy for that, so. But he'll sit with me, I'll give him scratches, we'll do our, like, we'll touch our noses together. He's so cute. I love him so much. Hi, cute bunny, how's it going? The Budgie's got Star with that bird toxoplasmosis. Sometimes I do think, like, I wonder if there's, like, a similar thing to toxoplasmosis for birds, because I look at them and, like, I swear to God my ovaries hurt. Like, I look at my birds and I swear to God my ovaries hurt. Hi, Chris, how's it going? And I just love them so much. I just really do. Trying to make sure my hair is more voluminous today. I looked at one of my old streams and I was like, oh my God, my hair is so flat in that stream. It's almost 2 a.m. for me. Hi, though. I'm sorry. Germany should really just be, like, they should just catch up to DC, really. Or not even catch. They should just, like, adjust their time and be DC time all the time. So, that's what's going on. So yesterday evening, I got involved in some Twitter drama unknowingly, I guess. And we'll go through that. But it's all about, hi, Conduit, how's it going? It's all about the dark money discourse. And it's like, who cares about what I have to say about this, right? Like, these days, I don't know what it is. I feel like I get, these days, my viewership, like, I feel like on Twitter has surpassed my viewership on stream by a lot. I mean, I guess obviously my viewership on stream has gone down since I moved to a new channel and I stopped streaming as regularly, but I just feel like my biggest following now is on Twitter. And it's so weird to me. I don't know why. I guess I just post bangers. What can I say? So let's go through this. Jeez, and I have to start muting threads again because I'm getting way too many notifications. Okay. They're calling for Fauci to be incarcerated, which is just insane. Yeah, so I saw Pisco yesterday getting into, like, a really pedantic argument with people about, like, what a... Oh, shit. Is dark money Indian money? I don't think so. CMET transcript? I've never seen you before, but hello. Are we cooked yet, chat? No, we're not cooked. I have to catch up on what the drama is. I don't even know, okay? Pisco getting into a pedantic argument. No way. Stop. My HDD died a few days ago. I found a new TB1 SSD for 74 euros, and I found a pretty cheap data recovery guy. I just need to contact them. So how you right now, besides, I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. I feel like my reality is being challenged in many ways these days. I've been trying to get out more. I've been trying to socialize more, and I realized, like, maybe I didn't realize I love socializing with people. Like, I love going out and meeting new people and socializing with them, and that's what I've been doing a lot of recently in my free time. And it's been really fun. And I forgot that, like, talking to people, like, kind of refreshes my social battery. Like, I was always, like, a little bit of an extrovert with, like, introvert tendencies or whatever. That Indian money message is sus as fuck. I know. Yeah, I think that person is like an anti-fan. We've been cooked to perfect 98.6. Pisco is the king of pedantic, let's be honest. I mean, it's okay. I don't mind it, you know? I was just having fun with it. Mamma mia, here we go again, my. Oh, you're Indian. Okay, I didn't know. I was assuming you're an anti-fan. I mean, you could still be an anti-fan. Okay. I stand a pedantry king. TBQH. Okay, well. Oh, fuck. I need to pull up the other stuff. Wait, before I start pulling up. You're not. Okay, fair enough. Kind of. Well, we'll get there. We'll get there. Okay, so let me just head off the drama. Okay, let me just explain at least where I am in it. Okay, and how I got involved in a Twitter fight yesterday. Okay, because I can't help myself, and I always have to be like super obnoxious and annoying. But okay, do I look old, chat? Chat, do I look old? I feel like 3 hours ago, my hair looked so nice and fluffy and voluminous, and now my hair is flat and I look old. Do I look old? My HDD died. I need to reinstall Windows 11 for a second time once my SSD arrives. I'm sorry. Are you secretly taking money from Bezos? No, I wish I was, though. Like, if anybody knows Jeff Bezos personally, like, hit me up, you know? In fact, if Bezos is looking for, like, I'm sure Bezos is not looking for this, but if Bezos is looking for, like, a new girlfriend, like a thick Indian girl, like, just hit me up, you know? Somebody, a thick Indian girlfriend, potential girlfriend who does not know how to flirt with anybody and will hijack his conversations horribly with really weird stuff. You look 40 to 15. Excuse me? You look great, but it did look fluffier. Yeah, wait, how do you know what I looked like a few hours ago? I don't think you look old. Okay, thank you. 40 to 15 is quite a long age range. Don't go to the beach, that makes you old. Dude, I can't believe they actually made an entire video, not a video, an entire movie off of that, you know? And somebody was like, let's make a movie about the beach that makes people old, and we're just gonna make it a full fucking movie. Like, what? I'm honored that we have Alex, the fiction of lust fame in here. True. Wear sunscreen every day. That is true. You guys should wear sunscreen. Okay, stop distracting me. What did I comment on yesterday? Right. Okay, I'm pulling it up. Pulling it up. Okay. Okay, all right. Okay. So, oh, that's awkward. Right. What was it? All right, here it is. Okay. So yesterday I saw this tweet from Pisco and it said, further to our conversation from Live and Learn, this is a clip of Olivia Giuliana from July 2025 describing herself as a moderate Democrat. And if you remember, now I only caught bits and pieces of the Live and Learn. So Live and Learn is a podcast where Hutch, Pisco, IRI, and Soy Pill all get together and they talk about various topics and they have different guests on. And last one they had Taylor Lorenz on. And while they were talking on the last one, I only caught bits and pieces of this Live and Learn, but while they were talking, I guess Taylor Lorenz called Olivia Giuliana a centrist. which I think is very inaccurate, right? And then they started arguing about who's a centrist, whatever, right? And Pisco posted this clip. And so let's rewind it and let's play it, okay?
Progressives just kind of stay in their box.
I think it's normal for normal people. Like I think it's pretty normal for, like, you know, if you're a college student on campus, like you probably have some Republican, some Democrat friends. I don't think it's normal for left-leaning content creators, and matter of fact, I would tell you for a fact it's not normal. Me saying that is like that's a no, and I know that because I'm too far right for a lot of people in the left content creator space.
But that doesn't mean she's a centrist, right? Like, that's when I first entered the online politics space, I thought I was pretty far left, and then I started talking to people, and I was like, oh shit, I guess I'm just like a moderate liberal like the entire time. And so anyways, but let's
because I dare to be a moderate Democrat.
See, yes, and that's what she describes her. She describes herself as a moderate Democrat, right? So I quote tweeted this, and I said I would hardly call a moderate Democrat a centrist because I'm a moderate liberal. I feel like liberal is the thing that I am the ideology I'm identifying with, and moderate is the descriptor, right? She didn't call herself a centrist there. Yeah, exactly. So she doesn't consider herself a centrist. Centrists generally are people who actually sit in the middle and are not registered one way or the other and stuff like that. And then what happened, of course, I'm not even going to scroll through the comments on this because it's not even worth it. I realized I just have to mute people. So then I saw more of this stuff. I saw Olivia Giuliana replying to this saying, being moderate means being center of the left, not a centrist. A centrist is someone who is literally in the center. I am not. I would never vote for a Republican. I have voted in primaries for DSA-endorsed candidates and for center-left candidates. Unlike hyper-online weirdos, I actually like voting for people who care about doing their job and can win and don't have a rigid, immovable ideology. When's your Pisco talk? I don't know, because I have to actually go over this drama. I don't really know anything about it, and I feel like it would be really stupid of me to even have a conversation with him until I actually watch what happened and read the actual article that was written. Because I was just... So anyways. So Pisco replies, to be clear, you do identify as moderate. And just curious where you're getting this notion of centrism as separate from moderate. I look at several definitions and concepts seem closely related. Not sure that what you're describing is standard usage. So then he's, pulling this up, centrism, centrist, centrist. And so then I see Olivia Giuliana says, ugh, oh, the dictionary police is here to tell me I described myself incorrectly. And so I said, I decided to jump in. I said, this is pedantic. Let me just jump in here. I said, I describe myself as a moderate liberal. I tend to agree with you. Moderate is the descriptor. Liberal is the identity or the ideology that you're identifying with. Pisco, is that understandable? Do you still think a moderate Democrat or a moderate liberal is a centrist? Because I feel like it's different. I just, we know that it's different, right? We know that it's different. I would never vote for a Republican. Or, there would have to be literally hell on earth for me to vote for a Republican. One can be moderate within the Democrats and nowhere near the center of the political spectrum. I feel like I come off as conservative coded to people. I don't know, actually. Half the people online seem to think I'm a Nazi, and half of them seem to think I'm, far left SJW, whatever. Anyways, so I said this. Do you still think a moderate Democrat or a moderate liberal is a centrist? And Pisco says, depends on what you mean by centrist. I'm like, okay, this dude is just being pedantic on purpose. So if he's going to be pedantic, I'll be pedantic too. And I said, 1, what do you mean by centrist? 2, what do you think the average person thinks when they hear centrist? 3, what do you think Taylor Lorenz meant by centrist? And he replies, 1, it depends on the context. I use it in different senses. 2, I don't know. Probably depends on a sentence. On the sentence, I think people colloquially think of centrist as like a moderate. But moderate is the descriptor. She's not describing herself as moderate solely. She's describing herself as a moderate Democrat, right? That there's a huge distinction between calling yourself a moderate and calling yourself a moderate Democrat. Then I said, do you think that the average person views a moderate Democrat as a centrist? Where on the political spectrum do you think a moderate Democrat would be? Moderate by itself means something different from moderate Democrat, yes? What do you think the ideology of centrist means in comparison to moderate Democrat? Is there a meaningful difference? And then Pisco says, we can talk on stream if you want. Going to bed, be well. So then he, I said, oh, wait, what time day do you stream? And he said, tomorrow I can do evening or Friday morning. I don't know. We'll see if I actually get to talking to him today. But I don't know. I was just being funny, basically, on Twitter. But I don't know. I feel like this is very dishonest, right? There's a difference between describing yourself as a moderate by itself and calling yourself describing yourself as a moderate Democrat. I think I'm too German for this again. I'm just left-leaning, though German leftism, I don't fucking know what's going on with the US anymore. I really dislike Twitter politics because both sides are dumb fucks. I think, yeah, most online people are dumb. Real-life people are not dumb. But, okay. I'm trying to think of another way that you can call yourself, you can say I'm fast, right? I'm really fast. But then if you say, like, I'm a fast walker, that's clearly different than saying you're fast, right? What's another one? If you call somebody elderly, calling somebody elderly is, like, different from calling somebody an elderly Zoomer, right? Does this make sense? Like, you can take a word that by itself means something different than when it's combined with something else. Like, that's how words work. Clip it. Star called herself slutty. No, I didn't. I've never had sex or been naked in my entire life. Why do I have 9 notifications already? Oh, okay. Man, I just have the most stupid conspiracy theorists in my replies right now. Yeah, chat, do you understand me? Like, I feel like it's pretty straightforward. If you call somebody elderly, that is different from calling somebody an elderly Zoomer, right? Or an elderly millennial. Well, you know what I mean, right? Like, they're towards the end of that era of people, right? There could be the center of the Democrats as well as the center of the general political spectrum. Yes, exactly. That's the argument that I would make. It's a frame of reference differentiation. So anyways, I guess to really understand what the hell is going on here, because all of this argumentation is about the word centrist and all of that, I have to watch. I should really be careful pressing the home button on Twitter, but oh, it's such a good one. Oh, it's so cute. Okay. Anyways, so I guess to really understand this drama, I should watch the Live and Learn episode and I should read the article. I read the article a really long time ago. And I should probably watch Pisco and Hutch arguing about it as well. Though I'm wondering, maybe I can just watch bits and pieces again of the actual Live and Learn podcast episode, and then watch Pisco and Hutch arguing. But I also saw that ContraPoints talked to Brianna Joy Gray, and I bet that is an insufferable episode of that podcast. I mean, not that not that these episodes, not that Bad Faith Pod isn't insufferable on a regular basis because of Brianna Joy Gray, but I bet it was I mean, I'm sure I'm gonna get so mad watching people dogpile on Contra. So, bruh, your Twitter lives are cooked. Killstream and Pearl, nah. I mean, my Twitter is generally cooked. You should see my YouTube recommendations in the morning, okay? It's just like absolute nonsense. My head hurts because why is this even a debate? That's just how English works. Am I being too Herman/autistic again? I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't know why he doesn't just say, oh yeah, point number 3 is the relevant one. Lorenz is being a dork, time to move on. And here's the thing, I don't even dislike Taylor Lorenz that much. I think she's a little bit cuckoo with her political takes. But like one part of her that I do respect is like, I know what it's like to be an online woman, an annoying woman online, basically. I know very intimately what it's like to be an extremely annoying woman on the internet, okay? So I just know. I know. So I don't dislike her for that. I don't dislike her for her personality. I've watched her talk to Soy Pill, and I found some of her takes somewhat reasonable. But then I do think she's kind of cuckoo in other areas, And yeah, I do think she's kind of dishonest as well. I do agree with that. I do think she's dishonest. But yeah, yeah. You're mostly just a troll. I wouldn't say I'm mostly just a troll. Look, when I think I'm a little bit half and half, okay? When I put my thought into things, I'll put my thought into things, and when I'm trolling, but there's a difference. I don't know that there's much of a difference when when you are labeled as an annoying person, an annoying woman. Very manipulative and slippery. Maybe. I don't know her well enough to say whether she's manipulative, but also I have a terrible track record when it comes to reading manipulation from people, so who knows? Maybe I'll get manipulated. I'm just saying don't identify with her too much. Okay, fair enough. Anyways, yeah, I'm not like a huge fan of her. And I think her politics are kind of cuckoo, but insufferable, I believe, was the label. That's true. Okay, my label has been insufferable woman. Okay. This is so cute. Oh my god. Oh god, Tim Pool. See, that's what Twitter is. I've got a cute bunny, and then I scroll down just a tiny bit, and I see Tim Pool. And he's gonna say something stupid. Of course he's gonna say something stupid. Dim Fool, yeah, dude, and it's just all hantavirus on my timeline right now, and people saying, "Oh, don't take the vaccine. If they come out with a vaccine, you shouldn't take it. You should take ivermectin." I'm like, bro, are we really going to do the ivermectin bullshit again? Really? 2026. I think it was actually calling Palin dumb. Oh, interesting. Why are crows so fucking... It's so true. I want a crow so bad, but I know I can't have one. Oh no, what's happening here? They want to be horses so bad. True. I mean, you know what? That might be it. Might be some like latent like thing where people just want to be horses. If you watch the Live and Learn, I think they start the course stuff around 30 minutes in. Okay, so let's just do a quick reading of this, or we'll do a quick scroll through of this, and then we'll watch the Live and Learn thing, okay? Horses are cool. I want to be a goat. You're already a goat, Abe. A dark money group is secretly funding high-profile Democratic influencers. An initiative aimed at boosting Democrats online offers influencers up to $8,000 a month to push the party line. All they have to do is keep it secret and agree to restrictions on their content. Okay, anybody wants to pay me $8K a month to peddle the Democratic talking points. I mean, you've read your last free article. Why are you saying this to me like it's a threat? Oh my god. What? I didn't even read the full article, bro. You read your last free art. What? You cut it off before I read it. In a private group chat in June, dozens of Democratic political influencers discussed whether to take advantage of an enticing opportunity. They were being offered $8,000 per month to take part in a secretive program aimed at bolstering Democratic messaging on the internet. Now, let me just tell you guys, I know, and I have known, and I do know a lot of political people, a lot of political influencers, and a lot of them take money from different groups, and nobody really gives a fuck. So, Loner did a thing about this. I'm sure he did, and I'm sure I edited it. I'm sure I just don't remember it. So, I've like, there's so much stuff that, yeah. You've read your last free article. It's like, whoa, dude, am I gonna die tomorrow? You've read your last free article. Am I going to die? Are you threatening me? Okay, I guess we're not reading it. I guess we're not reading it. I guess we're just moving straight on to the podcast. Mamma mia, here we go again, my night. Yes, I've been broken hearted. You read your last paper, bub. True. Oh my god, you're even pulling out. What a nice URL you've got there. Would be a shame if something happened to it. Jesus. They don't have to keep it a secret. A lot of them disclose their affiliation with Chorus. Yeah, I saw when. Okay, so I do remember when that came out, that article came out, a bunch of Chorus creators came out and they were like posting on Twitter, like, what is she talking about? We're allowed to talk about this. We talk about this all the time. So, I don't know. There are a couple of like creator programs, kind of like Chorus, that I was like seeing and they were like looking for applicants. And I'm like, I don't know that I want to apply for Chorus actually, but I would apply for some of the other like weirder ones, you know? Wow, Stardust on a day that is not Monday. Wow. Yeah, it might change soon. Some IRL stuff is being shifted around. We'll see.
Idiot in a propeller hat.
I also kind of miss streaming and I kind of want to do it more often. So, all right. So somebody said it's like about 30 minutes in, they start talking about it. So let's go to 26 minutes. Let's see.
Like congressional redistricting to happen, or to, I guess
You should apply for one that pays you to dress up like an alien. I don't think there's one out there, but if you can find one for me, I'll apply for it. I'll apply for it. Like, I'll dress up like an alien. You know, I am having a little bit of an identity crisis. Okay, before we get into this, I'm sorry, another tangent. I am having a little bit of an identity crisis, okay? Because as a content creator, I feel like people take me more seriously when they see my face and they see my body and I'm talking to you, and it's you and me, chat. It's you and me, and we're talking face to face, and I'm making eye contact with you, right? But there is just something so alluring to me about being banana mode, okay? And I don't see why. The thing is, being banana mode, people don't take you seriously. If I try to talk about like geopolitics or I try to talk about social issues as a banana, nobody is going to take me seriously. And but it just feels like this is me. This is who I was meant to be, this banana, you know? But it's like, okay, I can still look you in the eyes. I can still look you in the eyes and I can still make a personal connection with you, right? But you won't take me seriously because I'm a banana. There's nothing funny about being a banana. Who said there was? I didn't say that there was anything funny about being a banana. I just told you it's me. This is me. But I don't think I can do this on a regular basis because nobody would take me seriously. But can you imagine if people did and people started getting their news and politics coverage from a talking banana? Because that would be so epic. That would be so goated. But anyways, that's my identity crisis right now. So yeah. Okay, what happened to the bunny VTuber? I liked it, but I like the banana more, if I'm gonna be honest. I don't think I can do the banana all the time, unfortunately. Anyways, back to this. Let's get into
The
it.
ultimate Pisco, correct me if I'm wrong, essentially is saying it is now much harder to challenge potentially racial gerrymandering in any of these places based on their decision.
Okay, my bad. I thought we were just going to talk about the changes in general.
You're
but
too
yeah,
up to
we
date,
can go.
guy. I'm
guy.
7 days behind.
The whole flow of the podcast.
All right. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. I think there's a good conversation to have about the broader gerrymandering fight because that really does unlock a shit ton,
Gerrymandering.
which is otherwise.
See that there is a
Maybe I need to stream earlier because already streaming like just a few hours earlier has brought up viewership quite a bit. Maybe if I start streaming around like 4, it'll be more. Who
job
knows?
opening. So if you guys are big chorus defenders here, they're high.
Okay, let's see here.
How basically it needs to be done. And
That more Democrats aren't embracing it.
I think we're going to have our weekly fight now.
I think the banana VTuber is extremely funny, especially because you are live while it's 1 to 3 a.m. for me. That is probably peak times for when a banana would be funny. I mean, maybe like my Substack logo could be the banana. I don't know. But then I want the Substack to be taken seriously, so I can't be a banana. She jerries on my mander until I win the election. Why do you guys do that? Why do you say these things?
Pisco, are you ready?
Oh yeah, go for it.
Okay, let's gear up. I think like the job of advocating for packing the Supreme Court, which I would say I'm in favor of now because I just don't know what the better options are. It just feels like there's no good options really. And this is like the least bad option. But I think it's up to the commentators and people outside of the actual like political apparatus to make that case. Because to me, it's like if it were up to me, if I was like advising presidential candidates, I would say probably don't run on it and don't like signal in advance that you're going to do it. But if we get a trifecta in 2028, day one, push the Senate to scrap the filibuster and just start doing big things like ban partisan gerrymandering, do court reforms, etc. But you understand that, like, would you acknowledge that there's like some risk that might not be necessary with the like heads of the party actually running on that policy?
Do I acknowledge that there's some risk? Yes, I acknowledge there's some risk. Yes, I do.
Okay.
Bill on
Maybe it's just maybe the only difference of opinion is just how much risk there is versus.
That was not a fight.
No, like I acknowledge there's some risk. I think the question is like how important, how vital, how critical is a certain thing to
And look, I'll be real. Like I think Taylor Lorenz has some great qualities. She's beautiful. She looks very young. And she's charismatic. But I do think some of her politics are
your
very
agenda
cuckoo.
and
I think her politics are very cuckoo, and I have seen some of her reporting as somewhat dishonest. I don't know how true the Biden thing is, but that one seems extremely problematic to me. You cannot be dishonest while you're doing reporting like that, you know? Especially if you're calling yourself a reporter. You cannot be dishonest like that.
court reform is critical to our agenda if we want to get anything of consequence passed in this century, in the next 4 or 5 years, and being able to do it quickly. And so given that it's essential, right, just like getting rid of the filibuster is essential, we just need to start acclimating our constituencies to create the kind of arguments and structures in favor of this and make it an issue. Just like, by the way, Trump has made an issue out of the ballroom. That's something else that's a current event, is out of this whole chaos of the assassination attempt. Everyone's just talking.
We are how does We Are Charlie Kirk go? We are Charlie Kirk. We should make one that's called We Are White House Ballroom.
Talking about the ballroom, you have Ashley Sinclair, who, by the way, at some point we should invite to the podcast. Talking about how
should have her.
Oh, do you have a
100%.
connect? Pisco's been asking for it.
Yeah.
I think we need to. But like you see how they have these conversations behind the scenes, and maybe there's a nice dovetail into the course conversation at some point about what messaging to do, and they're all picking ballroom and like so. There is a way, I think, to shift opinion, and maybe part of that is being like strategic about who takes the lead here. And okay, fine, I'm not going to make the most vulnerable representatives and senators be the ones to carry the flag here, but I think there needs to be some sort. Yeah,
I wouldn't say it's about them. I would say it's more about like the candidate. So whoever the candidate's going to be, if it's AOC or Kamala or Newsom or whoever, I do think there's strategic value in hiding your power level on this particular issue, because what I don't want to do is to juice an electorate that's pretty depressed. Like the MAGA electorate right now is really depressed. Like we're seeing the turnout on the Democratic side versus the Republican side. It's really bleak for the Republican Party right now. And as soon as you start running on, we're gonna like the presidential nominee starts running on, we're gonna get rid of the filibuster and then pack the court. I mean, that would be probably the most transformational thing that the government has done since like the 60s and the 70s with LBJ's like war on poverty and Medicare and all that stuff. And so that's my concern. Guy, what do you have? You look like
Wait, do you actually think, does Hutch think that would be the most transformative thing since the 50s or 60s? I mean, okay, I'm going to say probably Hutch knows a little bit more than me, but I feel like there have been some pretty substantial things that the MAGA administration has done that have been way more. I don't know. Actually, maybe they haven't been that much. That hasn't been that transformative. Maybe. I would agree. I do agree with him. I don't think they should run on it though.
I just don't think that people want to hear our leaders talking about getting rid of the filibuster right now. They want them focused on cost, like affordability and stuff like that. So I think that conversation will become much more relevant when Alito and Thomas bail out before the end of the year and Trump gets to nominate Emile Beauvais and Aileen Cannon to be on the Supreme Court. You can get a lot more people saying, okay, fuck this. No.
Can somebody explain to me like what the argument is about like the centrism definition? Because it feels very straightforward to me, you know. But
they've already packed the court, so I think it's just returning fire at this point if we do. But you're right, Hutch. You said it. Like first, you got to get rid of the filibuster. That's going to be a big task alone.
I don't know if it is, man. I actually think there's a very decent chance they get rid of the filibuster in the next trifecta. I really do. Yeah, I do. I think,
Not so sure about it.
I don't know, man. Obama was on Brian Tyler Cohen's podcast just 2 weeks ago talking about how basically it needs to be done. And so I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if more pressure kind of mounts. I don't think it's going to be a topic that comes up a lot during this like midterm cycle, but as soon as we get into the next presidential cycle, which I think is going to begin like right after the midterms, I think they're going to start announcing in like December. I do think like that conversation needs to be had. And I think there's more kind of leeway to talk about the filibuster, but I just hedge a little bit on committing to packing the court. I mean, what do you think, Soypill?
I kind of understand the risk of, hey, this could hurt our chances.
Okay, I'm going to fast forward because this isn't what we want. We want to go forward.
Focus on like the current sort of core stuff. I did want to talk about your,
which is why they're hiring this
here it is. Okay, we just got it, guys.
Partnerships person.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to focus on like the current sort of core stuff. I did want to talk about your article a little bit, if you don't mind.
Sure, let's do it. Why not, guys? I'll talk about it till the cows come home. It's so crazy to me that when I was in DC, I ran into someone from 1630, and she was like, "It's never gonna die," and I was like, "It's never gonna die. It's never gonna die."
Well, listen, I think it would help the discussion. Well, first of all, I want to say like, I think your overall focus on transparency when it comes to money in politics, that is necessary journalism that needs to happen. And in fact, despite the issues that I have with your article, and we can dive into that, I did learn a lot about like dark money structures because your article made me look into it. And so I do think that there's a really vital role for journalists to be discussing this issue. And so, you know, I appreciate you bringing attention to that. I genuinely mean that. But I want to ask you just a few questions before we get into some other things here. What do you think is the crux of, like, if you had to describe the crux of your reporting in this Wired article, like what would you go with there? How would you describe it? It's like the main points.
Yeah, I think the main point is basically like what I want people to walk away with, kind of what you just said, which is that like this massive, notorious dark money group is funding this program that influencers took part in that claimed to be journalists, and that these influencers basically were taking undisclosed political money while promoting political messaging. For instance, I think that let me just give an example. So I think that consumers and viewers, readers, whatever, right, like news consumers deserve the right to know if the person that they're receiving information from is, one, taking political money, and two, taking part in like messaging sessions, like getting, sort of information given to them by certain political interests or whatever, right? I think that they should know that. Journalists, for instance, like myself, anybody.
The thing, I understand what she's saying, but if people are getting messaging, like, what was it that
basically getting to know if the person that they're receiving information from is, one, taking political money, and two, taking part in like messaging sessions, like getting.
Okay, messaging sessions. So there are a lot of content creators who aren't taking political money, who are receiving messaging sessions or join messaging sessions, right? Oh, your on-screen chat is mod alert. Your on-screen chat is dead. Okay. Interesting. I wonder why that happened. Give me a second. Thank you for letting me know. What happened? Did I close it by accident, maybe? Okay. Sorry about that. Thank you for letting me know. I didn't realize it froze. Yeah, it froze for me too. Let's see. What did I miss? We are Charlie Kirk. Okay, sorry about that. Both sides have lost the point. It's not about winning, it's about driving people to work through their problems and divisions. I feel like, I don't know. So yeah, there are a lot of content creators I feel that aren't receiving money from political organizations, but receive like messaging all the time, or receive like messaging talking points all the time, and that's like not unique to anything really. Like if you follow any like think tank, or you follow any like advocacy organization, like you're getting messaging, right? So you have to disclose all of that? I don't really think so, right? And where's the line, right? Like yeah, there are group chats you can join where people are talking about like messaging related to certain issues. Like it's not "We are White House Ballroom." We should make a parody of that. I feel like I could totally make a parody of that. "We are White House Ballroom." Okay.
You know, sort of information given to them by certain political interests or whatever, right? I think that they should know that. Journalists, for instance, like myself, anybody that basically works in mainstream media, you cannot take part in any dark money political funding. That would be so unethical. It would violate every single ethics. You know, you could never do that and work in mainstream media. But I think the problem with influencers is that, listen, and I have friends in that program, but like some of them, it's like, whatever, they're political
They did just make 1 million ballrooms.
influencers. They don't feel like they have to disclose it. I think they should disclose it. But there are a lot of other people in those programs that are calling themselves journalists, and a lot of them actually wanted to disclose it. That's how that article came to be. Is that 7 people in the program came together, 7 of them, and were like, "Hey, we wanted to disclose it. We want to post about it. We're being told that we're not allowed to, and we'll be kicked out of the program if we actually publicly disclose it. We think this is really wrong, and we want to blow the whistle on it. We've recorded all these Zoom calls. Here's screen recordings of all these internal text messages. Here's internal documents. Here's all of the contracts. Here's all the contract negotiations. Here's all the internal guidance on what we're supposed to respond to, blah, blah, blah." So I was like, great, okay, well, let me reach out to Chorus and 1630 and talk to them about this. And obviously they didn't want to talk on the record, but I hope that people from that article demand more from the content creators and demand that these content creators, are more transparent about funding. And most importantly, because I don't even think it should all be on the content creators' fault. As I said, so many content creators did want to disclose, and they were told they'd be kicked out of the program if they did. The people that run these programs, Courier Newsroom. I don't know if do you guys know Tara McGowan, Courier? That's
no, I heard
crazy.
you talk about them before, but
yes,
not
they're like the
familiar.
other big. You guys should. That's like your type of. That's like the other big lib like thing that funds all the Democrat stuff. Like,
Oh, you're not a lib, Taylor?
Listen. I love the libs. I'm not hating on anybody, but
Hang on a second. You like free speech? You don't like the libs?
I do. No. I actually really like a lot of people in. I like a lot of people in Chorus, and I like a lot of people in all these programs. But
Again, plenty of them disclosed being part of Chorus. Yeah, I do remember that happening, that plenty of them were disclosing that they were part of Chorus. But the core argument that I seem to have walked into on Twitter is about like the definition of a centrist, and Taylor Lorenz calling certain people centrists who are not centrists.
Friends, Taylor.
What'd you say?
I'm not a racist. I have black friends.
No, but I'm saying like that program is run transparently, right? There's a lot of other funding programs that are run transparency. Even Crooked Media, you could consider sort of a form of this, although it's quite different. It's a media company. But
so overall, though, you're putting the emphasis on disclosure. You think the crux of your article was about disclosure.
I think it's about disclosure, and also unpacking what sort of, basically, if you sign a contract that says, if I take part in Chorus-based events and that puts restrictions on my content, that should be disclosed.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that because that's worth diving into. But to your point on the disclosure, okay, so the section in your article where you dealt with the specific provision in the contract that barred the creators from disclosing that they were a part of a fund, like a dark money fund.
The program. They talked that they were part of the funding program.
Right.
Yeah.
That, I think, was probably the strongest part of your article, because I think that does raise ethical concerns that are worth exploring and discussing and hashing out and kind of collectively deciding like what should the ethics be. But we'll get to some of that.
Well, they came out after. These content creators, several of them.
Hutch builds his case for her dishonest reporting. That's when the centrist stuff happens. Okay.
Came out after the story came out and said, we're proud to take dark money and we don't owe you anything. So I think that's the energy that some of these content creators have. And I think that's a huge disservice. I think if they start to play that game, they're going to lose. They're going to lose. That's not, you have the disadvantage in that system. The right has significantly more dark money than the left will ever have.
Well, let me
ask, was it in writing that they couldn't disclose? I don't know.
Yeah, it's in their contract. Yeah, it was in their contract. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, okay. I got to hit one thing at a time here. I feel like you hit on like 5 things that I want to unpack, but
okay.
I want to keep my train of thought here. So the second question that I have for you is, I think it was in your conversation with Pisco where you were speaking about the importance of journalists and editors disclosing their partisan beliefs in their reporting. Was that you're in conversation with Pisco or on Doomscroll?
No, well, I don't think that you have to do that. I say that, for instance, one reason that I really like to be independent is because I like to make my views clear on where I stand on certain issues. I think that makes me a more accountable reporter, because when I'm open and I disclose, hey, I'm coming to this issue with this perspective. Am I wrong? Like, I mean, I go to sources with this all the time where I'm like, well, this is my view, you know?
Well,
Now
Taylor, in the interest of transparency, earlier, I know we're being friendly here, but you do hate Democrats and libs, right? Like, I'm pretty sure you hate
Sometimes
Democrats
they
and
drive
libs.
me
I'm pretty
crazy.
sure I've
I
heard
want
you say
them to
this.
win. I hate them because they keep losing. I want them to win. I want them to be Republicans. But I mean, obviously, obviously, I mean, I don't want the Republicans to win there, especially not Donald Trump. He's a fascist.
But is the right really doing this kind of like policing like the left is right now? Like the right does,
but on this,
the right gets so much dark money, and we don't we don't see, where's the reporting on that? I feel, you know, like where's the reporting on that? Why is there no article being written about the amount of dark money? Why are people not holding these people's feet to the fire who took money from Tenet Media, who took money literally from Russia, one of our enemies, you know? Because they don't care. I just feel like, okay, it's all great if you want to do that to the left, if you want to do that to the liberals, but like at the same time, I just like, what's the point if you're gonna just kneecap yourself, right? If you're gonna kneecap yourself, like you're kneecapping the Democrats from ever, you know, if you're demanding the standard be held. Like, I don't give a fuck about the standard being held until we like even if we even the playing field, you know. So maybe I'm a little bit wrong on that, who knows, but and like, I don't know, I feel like imagine having to track every single like donation that you get. Like, there, like, where does the line stop, right? If you get a dono from somebody who happens to work at an organization, like, do you have to disclose that too? Like, people want to stay anonymous and when they're donating money to creators and stuff, you know?
I think you did.
But
At least compare and contrast in your, yeah, I mean, the amount of dark money that flows through the right is like way, way, way more. It really is. Taylor's article should have focused on dark money on the left and right. I mean, it could have. Like, I just don't, I get that she's trying to hold her side to a higher standard, but I think we kind of have to like play tough ball until like we even the playing field a bit. And I feel like, you know, even with her, what she's reporting, and she's trying to hold her own side accountable, like, really, it's just kneecapping the Dems. And if it's true that these course creators were not prevented from disclosing, and it seems like that is the case, because a lot of them came out on Twitter and it directly contradicted what Taylor Lorenz is saying about having to, you know, not being able to disclose. Like, it seems like a lot of people are saying like, no, that's not true, what Taylor wrote is not true. Then yeah, I don't see what the point is here.
yeah, but what my point is like, if you are a journalist, especially if you're a public independent journalist, I think it's to your benefit and to the public's benefit for you to be transparent. And
oh, dude, and if you're talking about that from a journalistic, I could see it maybe from a journalistic standpoint, but we're not talking about journalists. Like, these are content creators. They're entertainment. They're commentators at the most. They are not reporters. So
one reason people don't like mainstream media is that mainstream media will put out content that clearly has a political slant. You know, certain writers at The Atlantic, for instance, right, that like are going to skew a certain way, but they can't come out and say it. And to me,
they can come out and say, like, they come out and write it. Am I lost here? What am I not following correctly? Like,
that's a flaw in our media ecosystem. I think that you should be
would it be up to the journalists to disclose that kind of slant in the reporting itself?
No.
But you're talking about content creators. You're not even talking about reporters. You're talking about commentators, which is not the same thing as a reporter.
Because it depends on your slant. Like, what are you talking about? Like, for instance, I cover identity verification laws. I'm very critical of ID verification laws. I'm very anti-surveillance. When I talk to the guy at the Age Verification Association, the trade group, I say, listen, I'm a huge critic of these laws. Convince me why I'm wrong. The goal of an article, like a journalistic article, is to be factual and truthful, and to get people to understand, sort of the truth of a situation.
Right.
It's not necessarily to share your opinion on something.
I think Lunderbox made this point, but you can write an article that is completely made of the truth, and it still tells a specific story. And by the nature of the facts that you leave out of that article, it still could be a dishonest framing, right? So it could be the truth that she's writing on Chorus, which I don't think it's the truth. I think, and that is a good point. She herself has received funding from 1630. So, and I believe Brian Tyler Cohen called her out for that. But the very fact that she's only reporting on Democrats taking dark money and not disclosing when they are able to disclose, as we've seen from multiple Chorus creators, and then not reporting on any of the Republicans or any of the right-wingers taking money from people, taking dark money. Like, there's, I feel like it would be much easier. The article on Chorus is such an easier article to write than the actual research and depth required to go into like the far right or into the right-wing spaces and find out who is funding them. Like, it is just so much harder. So it just seems, okay, maybe she wrote a decent article, which is questionable. But also, it feels like low-hanging fruit. Like, this was the easiest article she could have written because Chorus put their stuff out there. It doesn't seem like they've been hiding who they are. Seems like all the creators who are part of it have been pretty honest and transparent about that they're part of it. Like, it is such an easy article for her to write. It would be so much harder for her to go and write about things in the right. Am I making sense here? That I feel like it's just like a little bit lazy. Like, if you're gonna get a real scoop, you'd put some more research into it. She's funded herself and doesn't disclose her guidance. Yeah, I believe she is also funded by 1630 as well.
Some articles
Which also and she points out that 1630 is like funding Chorus, but when she's also receiving money from 1630, it's hypocritical. Also, remember, it was the very first group of creators and had only existed for a couple of months when she released the article. 1630 fund, it's kind of like what she's talking about. It's like a 501c3, I believe. 5C3. A US-based nonprofit corporation, trust, or association that is exempt from federal income tax because it operates exclusive. Wait, is it a 501c3? I don't know, actually. To my knowledge, she isn't getting money directly from 1630. She was part of the Omi Dyer program, and the guy that program is named for gave money to 1630. Also, that program in itself was dark money, similar to Chorus. Okay. Is it a 501c4? I think 1630 funds Chorus. She gets money from the Omidyar network. Okay. Interesting. But Pierre Omidyar donates to both. Okay. Okay, that makes more sense. Okay.
Contain more opinion, but
so the funder of 1630. So 1630 gives money to Chorus, which is that creator program, and the funder of 1630 is Pierre Omidyar, who also gives money to Taylor Lorenz. Okay, that makes sense. Good night, Million Deadlines to meet Looking sharp star. Thank you. Have a good one.
Most sort of like investigative work, or especially something like this, it doesn't have my opinion in it. Also because like 15 people worked on this article, and my original draft was so like, you know, it goes through like so much sort of editing and review, and so many people work on it, that it's just like the end product is mostly a result of like, what did the legal, you know, how do we need to sort of reword this so that it's legally factual and, you know, stand up to some like defamation lawsuit, because that's what they kept threatening.
Well, my sense of this particular reporting is that I think you do have a slant. And I think you do. I think your opinion is
my slant is probably, I mean, as you can read from all my Wired reporting, it's against dark money, and it is a transparency.
Well, no,
slant.
that's not the slant that I'm talking about. I think you have an anti-establishment slant. I think you've discussed.
The chorus is anti-establishment.
Well, hang on, real quick. You've described yourself as on the left, or I think you even hinted that you were identified with the label of leftist. I think in your conversation
in
with
certain
Discourse.
on
And
certain
when you read
issues,
the article,
for
it's like
sure,
really clear that you have villains in the story and you have heroes in the story and you have kind of a larger narrative that I think goes beyond
but like
disclosure,
15
right?
people, right? But like my name is on the top, but as you know, with an investigation like this, especially one that went to the top, that like 15 people worked on this story. So
well, I understand that, but like for example, so you assigned the label centrist to Olivia Juliana.
Ooh, okay. This is the part we're getting to. But let me just write this down really quick, because I want to be able to, you know, okay. So for like this whole dark money conversation, we've got here MDR, who gives money to Chorus. Well, no, they don't give. He doesn't give money to. He gives money to 1630, who then gives money to Chorus. Then Pierre Omidyar, or whatever, however you say his name, also gives money to Taylor Lorenz. Multiple people fund 1630, but don't disclose that they do. But Pierre Omidyar does. Okay. I don't think 1630 discloses the full list, which is what Lorenz always jumps on. So 1630 does not disclose who funds them. Okay.
just how she self-identified.
No, she self-identifies as a progressive, right?
No, from what I found from my original reporting back from the New York Times, back when I had interviewed her years ago, she was identifying as a centrist Democrat.
Okay, calling somebody a centrist versus somebody who is a centrist Democrat is okay, I think they're both wrong here. So Hutch is wrong. Juliana in that clip didn't identify as a progressive. She identified as a moderate Democrat. But also Taylor Lorenz is wrong. She did not identify as a centrist. She's saying, oh, she identifies as a centrist Democrat, which is very different from a centrist. In the clip we saw, Juliana, Olivia Juliana, right? I'm just writing this down for myself to know. In the clip we saw, Olivia Juliana identifies as a moderate liberal. It's playing semantic games to muddy the water, sure. Or she identifies as a moderate Democrat. Taylor Lorenz claimed she identified as a centrist. Hutch claims she identified as a progressive. Even if the wording was centrist Democrat, there is a meaningful difference between centrist Democrat and centrist.
In Texas, that was her whole thing. In
2024.
My original reporting back from the New York Times, back when I had interviewed her years ago, she was identifying as a centrist Democrat. In Texas, that was her whole thing. In
2024.
Maybe it was whenever I spoke to her, which was quite a while ago. But just to be clear, she never took issue with that. She never reached out for a correction on that at all. We would have been happy.
So here's the clip. Oh, This is the wrong clip, but we're gonna watch it anyways. Oh no, this poor bird. Okay, I pulled up the wrong clip. Sorry. Sorry about that, but it was a good clip. Okay, anyways. Sorry. Okay.
Progressives just kind of stay in their box.
I think it's normal for normal people. Like I think it's pretty normal for, like, you know, if you're a college student on campus, like you probably have some Republicans, some Democrat friends. I don't think it's normal for left-leaning content creators, and matter of fact, I would tell you for a fact it's not normal. Me saying that is like that's a no, and I know that because I'm too far right for a lot of people in the left content creator space. Because I dare to be a moderate Democrat.
See, people on my side of the aisle with progressives just kind of.
So that is what it is. So she says she identifies as centrist Democrat. She doesn't really. She identifies as a moderate Democrat. Pisco's making the argument that moderate and centrist basically mean the same thing. I'm making the argument that I don't really care. I don't know if they mean the same thing. I don't really care if they mean the same thing, if moderate and centrist mean the same thing, because clearly the definition changes when you put centrist next to Democrat or moderate next to Democrat, right?
Like if she
Well,
had,
I mean, nonetheless, that is an opinion, right? Subjective. It's a very subjective
no,
label.
it was how
centrist.
she. Well, first of all, I think we can correctly identify
Chat, how are we doing, by the way?
people's political sort of affiliations. For instance, if she's, correct me if I'm wrong on Olivia Juliana, and Olivia Juliana works for Chorus, but her whole thing was that she was a Democrat in Texas, right? Who had done a lot of work with like reproductive justice.
Yeah, right. So she focuses on abortion, LGBTQ+,
Right,
climate,
right.
voting rights. When I look
Yeah.
at these sort of policy priorities, that does not strike me as a when I think of a centrist, I think of Joe Manchin. I
Okay.
think
I
of like
mean,
Jared
again,
Polis
if
and the
Yeah. I do think that there is a difference between a centrist Dem and even a moderate Dem, right? But I don't know. Also, maybe it's all the same.
Nebraska,
Olivia,
right?
if Olivia wants to reach out, and we,
Okay, let me just rewind.
when I had interviewed her years ago, she was identifying as a centrist Democrat back
Well,
in Texas. That was her whole thing.
in 2024.
Maybe it was whenever I spoke to her, which was quite a while ago. But just to be clear, she never took issue with that. She never reached out for a correction on that at all. We would have been happy to, like, if she
Well,
had.
I mean, nonetheless, that is an opinion, right? Subjective. It's a very subjective
No,
label.
it was how
centrist.
she. Well, first of all, I think we can correctly identify people's political sort of affiliations. For instance, if she's, correct me if I'm wrong on Olivia Juliana, and Olivia Juliana works for Chorus, but her whole thing was that she was a Democrat in Texas, right? Who had done a lot of work with like reproductive justice.
Yeah, right. So she focuses on abortion, LGBTQ+,
Right,
climate,
right.
voting rights. When I look
Yeah.
at these sort of policy priorities, that does not strike me as a when I think of a centrist, I think
Yeah,
of Joe
it doesn't.
Manchin. I think of like Jared
again,
Polis
if
in Nebraska, right?
If Olivia wants to reach out, and we honestly, the thing that you're bringing up mostly comes up on the right, because for instance, when I've covered Nick Fuentes, he will say, well, I'm not a white nationalist, or Chuck Johnson, who I cover all the time, or not so much anymore, actually, is less relevant, but he would
Well.
constantly say, well, I'm not a Holocaust denier, right? And so I think at some point you do have to take a look at certain people's, beliefs and what they've expressed and try
How
to
would you
categorize
how would
them
you define
correctly.
centrist? How would you define centrist?
A Democrat that's probably
very-
middle of the road, like a middle of the road Democrat, like a Democrat that could
Okay, so a Democrat is a centrist to her. Okay. That makes more sense, because without that, she's one of those people who thinks like Democrats are right wing on the world stage, which is not true. But
operate in a red state probably, and a blue state maybe equal, like somebody
That's
that sort of
very
appeals
broad,
to both.
though. That's very, very broad.
Well, it's kind of like with the centrism itself. Like as I think about it and sit here, there's a kind of identified more Schumer-oriented Democrat, more moderate Democrat associated with a centrist label,
Well,
and it is kind of vague, right? It's a kind of
pretty
vague term.
Also, like, hasn't, I wouldn't say that the Chorus. I mean, Chorus has made content with Schumer. Like, I guess I would say it's a very vague term. It's probably the most broad term, because I don't think we want to get it again like too
Well,
specific.
the important thing here, Taylor, is to Hutch's point, based on, and I found this when I read your article
Yeah.
too. You use centrist as like a pejorative, right?
No, for this one we say that like when
No, in general you do. You've used, you don't like the Democrats, and you especially don't like centrist Democrats. This
I
is
am
just like
centrist
your
on certain
ideological
issues. I think it depends on the
Well,
type
no,
of.
I
Do you
know,
use
but
centrist
in
as a
general-
pejorative,
In
is the
general, you
question.
use centrist as a pejorative, right? Like you view these.
so that is a good question from Soy Pill, actually. I'm a bit surprised at Soy Pill, but yeah. The question is, you're using centrist as a pejorative, and she's like, well, I'm centrist on some things, but the question is not, are you centrist on something? You are using centrism as a pejorative, right? So
People as like these feckless do nothings, and like I'm not like
I think you're completely putting words in my mouth that I have not said. I think I don't like
Damn, Soy Pill really knows how to trigger people. That's for sure.
Chuck Schumer and a lot of there's a lot of what he says, but there's a lot of people that are quote unquote centrist that I absolutely respect and work with and that worked on this article. Like there's people just to be clear, this article went through so many editors that have such a range of political beliefs. And I hear you that maybe you disagree that Olivia Juliana is classified as we described her, a centrist Gen Z influencer who spoke at the 2024 DNC.
I
she
think
has
when you
not
look at
taken
her,
issue with that, and
well, that's beside the point. I mean, whether or not she disputed it, I think if most people, well, hang on, just let me real quick. I'm not trying to cut you off very much. So just let me say.
Okay, sorry.
Like, I think if like a reasonable person went to Olivia Juliana's feed and they saw her policy priorities, I think that they would colloquially understand her to be just sort of like a standard Gen Z progressive Democrat who's focused on progressive
is also the reason progressive has come up so much. And somebody was trying to get me to write a story about this recently, which I was like, this is not really my beat, is because so many people have tried to replace the word centrist with progressive. And this has been like a thing that influencers were actually given. This is totally separate from my story. And this is like something else. Maybe I'll write about it. I don't know, probably not. But there is an effort as certain words become stigmatized or have negative, maybe you're saying this has like a negative view with some people, they're trying to use other words. So you see them use the word progressive instead of centrist or the word whatever.
No, I'm not talking about self-assigned labels. I mean, I think most people would look at her policy proposals and think, okay, that's just.
What do you think about Biden, Hutch? I mean, let's be honest, right? Like, so if Biden were described as a centrist Democrat,
Olivia Juliana was a Biden dead ender, so she absolutely is a Biden.
Biden is certainly, in my opinion, I don't think Biden is a centrist Democrat at all. I feel like he was actually relatively progressive. Was he not? Am I wrong on that? I feel like Biden was one of the most progressive presidents we've ever had and was actually kind of to the left, or maybe, I don't know. I do not think Biden was a centrist. Was he?
Democrat.
That does not.
He was the one who kind of, I don't know. He's always come off as progressive to me. So I don't know. His presidency was more progressive than his time in the Senate. Okay, fair enough. Okay, maybe I'm just thinking of his presidency, but his presidency seemed very progressive. So I don't know.
You describe Biden as progressive?
Hang on,
AOC and Bernie were Biden dead.
I mean, I think most people would look at her policy proposal.
They're trying to use other words. So you effort as certain words become stigmatized or have negative, maybe you're saying this has like a negative view with some people, they're trying to use other words. So you see them use the word progressive instead of centrist or the word whatever.
No, I'm not talking about self-assigned labels. I mean, I think most people would look at her policy proposals and think, okay, that's just.
What do you think about Biden, Hutch? I mean, let's be honest, right? Like, so if Biden were described as a centrist Democrat,
Olivia Juliana was a Biden dead ender, so she absolutely is a Biden Democrat.
That does not.
Would you describe Biden as progressive?
Hang on, yes,
AOC and Bernie were Biden dead
exactly, yes. AOC
Totally,
and
it's true. AOC and Bernie were Biden dead enders too. That's a good point from Soy Pill.
and Bernie Sanders
I would
were.
describe them as Democrat. I guess they're not.
AOC.
Okay, well, I'm not gonna really judge how progressive somebody is based on how they treated women back when the Anita Hill hearings were happening, because basically my opinion is that everybody is a misogynist, and progressivism doesn't necessarily exclude misogynists, I think progressivism does not necessarily exclude misogynists. I think there are a lot of progressives who are still misogynists, and I think most of the world is misogynistic, and most of America is misogynistic, and that's how I feel. I don't really care about that. Like I mean, obviously I care because it was a disservice to Anita Hill, but like I also think that disservices are done to women all the time,
The progressives, right? That didn't make them as centrist.
I would call them democratic socialists, right?
Well, listen, if you had to choose between progressive and centrist to describe AOC and Bernie, what would you choose?
It totally depends on the context of the article.
I feel like you're being a little
Bernie has
evasive
been
there.
because look at what Bernie's been doing with his AI policy. Like I think
nobody would call him a centrist. Nobody
I
would
wouldn't call him, but I
him
wouldn't call him progressive either on certain things.
I don't understand what these words mean anymore. I mean, like more broadly.
I kind of agree with her on maybe not calling Bernie Sanders a progressive. I would call AOC a progressive. I wouldn't call Bernie Sanders a progressive. I feel like Biden's more progressive than Bernie Sanders, actually.
You said that there were 90. Did you see a list of 90 people? Is that how many people you saw?
So just to be clear, I understand that you take issue with the way that editors categorize these people, but
That's an opinion, though. You're inserting
it's not
an
opinion. Well, this is Chuck Johnson saying that us calling him a Holocaust denier is an opinion, or us saying that Tucker Carlson is a right-winger is an opinion. All we can do is try to best reflect the ideology that often we use self-described ideologies, but all we can do.
I think she self-describes as a progressive at this point. So that's where I'm a little bit confused.
At this point, maybe, but I would say again, if you ask actual people that are further to the left than her, they will say not. So
well, that's the issue. That's the issue.
Right, and
Darla Tanks will call Bernie Sanders a centrist, but it's not accurate.
No, but that's the issue, because I think you're framing your article from the position.
I'm surprised Soypill really knows how to trigger people, and I am surprised he's going at this. He's needling a little bit here, because if you guys watch the original, if you watched his interview with Taylor Lorenz, he got her really upset over the whole masking thing. So I'm a little bit surprised that he's needling here again, but...
of like the left.
But I didn't even write that line. So like
well, your name's on the line.
Of course, but I want you to understand how journalism works, right?
Okay.
The way that journalism works, it's not just that Wired is my personal blog and I can go and write whatever I want, right? And I can just go and publish on Wired and nobody's going to look at it, right? No, especially with an investigation like this, the way it happens is I find information, right? I get people trying to whistleblow, in this case, about a program that they're in. And I go to an editor and I say, hey, I have all of this source material, all of this people. Would you be interested in a story? Yes. Okay. I work with that editor to draft the story. It then goes through rounds, in this case, rounds and rounds and rounds and rounds of review from many different editors that not only transform the story, rewrite parts of the story, add things, take things away, but also then it goes through legal review. Then it goes through copy edits and stuff. Like
yeah,
it goes through. So, but I just want you to understand, because I think, yes, my name is at the top of the story because this is my reporting. This is my reporting that I brought forward fundamentally. But if you're going to take issue with like random sort of characterizations, and again, I understand.
I don't think it's random. I think it was deliberate. I think it was deliberate.
Okay, well, I guess.
Why don't you get to there? Why don't you go there and just ask Taylor?
The copy editor.
I'm trying to have a conversation with her. I don't know why you're jumping in here.
No, because it's kind of a stupid critique to be like, hey, centrist. It's kind of the eye of the beholder. Like, yeah, so Joe Biden would describe himself as a centrist Democrat, correct? Yes or no?
No.
Wait, can you answer that first? Can you answer that? So the question you should ask is, Taylor, did you?
Let me finish my track.
The question that you should ask is, Taylor, were you attempting to imply something nefarious when you use centrist there? Were you trying to imply that they were aligned with the DNC?
Well,
ask the question about her intention.
Listen, Taylor, respectfly, I think you were doing that. I didn't even write that. I wrote
the list of influencers' names. I didn't even originally.
Well, here we have another spot here where you say that.
Hutch, before you do the next thing, because
I can't.
Taylor, you did say that I was putting words in your mouth, but if you search on your Twitter centrist, it's very clear that you use this as a pejorative term, and like that can be your opinion. That's fine, but to claim that that's not like your ideological spin is a little frustrating.
But I would say, in what context is it? Is in what context? Because I think, certainly, do I get annoyed at certain centrist people? Sure.
I think that there was an intention there to be disparaging, and I think it's broader than that.
Okay, but this is just honestly, I didn't write the sort of things. It's fine if she had taken. Just let me finish instead of just let me finish.
Well, you have been cutting me off pretty consistently throughout this entire exchange.
All right. Well, then this is just not going to be how we're not going to be able to have a conversation, because we're talking about a story that was edited by so many people, and I don't know what to tell you other than
Okay, so are you distancing yourself from that label?
Oh my God! If Olivia Juliana had reached out after that story and said, you grossly mischaracterized my views, I'm not a centrist, take it out, you mischaracterized it, whatever, I would have been happy to bring that to the editor, and the editor could have looked at her positions and decided whether or not that was correct.
Taylor, her opinion works. But Taylor, her opinion is not especially relevant. Like if you're saying that the language, if you're saying that the
okay. So she's trying to say that Hutch doesn't have an understanding of journalism.
It's fine. If she had taken, just let me finish.
Here where you say that.
Funny edits and stuff. Like it goes through, so, but I just want you to understand.
I'm sorry for rewinding, but I'm trying to understand Pisco's point here. It seems like he's kind of interjecting, not really helpfully. But who wrote it again? Taylor did, but she had like a team of 15 people also working on it.
Because I think, yes, my name is at the top of the story because this is my reporting. This is my reporting that I brought forward fundamentally. But if you're going to take issue with like random sort of characterizations, and again, I understand.
Random. I think it was deliberate. I think it was deliberate.
Okay, well, I guess.
Why don't you get to there? Why don't you go there and just ask Taylor?
The copy editor.
I'm trying to have a conversation conversation with her. I don't know why you're jumping in here.
Hey,
Well, what
No,
I'm saying
because
is, like,
it's kind of a
honestly-
stupid critique to be like, hey, centrist, it's kind of the eye of the
Really?
beholder. Like, yeah, so
Really?
Joe Biden would describe himself as a centrist Democrat, correct? Yes or no?
No, Pisco, the whole
I-
point
I-
is
Wait, can you answer that
the whole
first?
point
Can you
is-
answer that? So
Hang on.
the question you should ask,
We can have a
Taylor, did you,
conversation after. Let me finish my
the
track
question
with-
that you should ask is,
Oh my God.
Taylor, were you attempting to imply something nefarious when you use centrist there? Were you trying to imply that they were aligned with the DNC?
Well, I mean,
Well,
I
ask
think
the
it's pretty clear that the entire article was meant to imply something nefarious, right? Like the entire article is talking about dark money, and like just from the few sentences we read earlier, very clearly implies something nefarious, does it not?
about her intention.
Listen, Taylor, respectfully, I
You
think you
said
were
she
doing. I
spoke-
think
And
you were.
also paired with the fact that Soy Pill is pointing out that she uses centrist as a pejorative, then yeah, she is trying to imply something nefarious is going on, right? Or something more nefarious is going on. And I do think that can we pull up some examples of her using centrist as a pejorative? Sure. Which is an editorial choice, but she'd have final say on whether or not she'd be the byline. Yeah, it is her article. How do I search her? Oh, there we go. Centrist. I'm so confused. Instead of criticizing power and the centrist Dems who wield it, you're criticizing marginalized people who are being oppressed and are simply asking Democrats to stop selling them out to align with the right. Clarkson, leftists hate Crockett. Leftists are literally the ones against her. Centrist blue MAGA Democrats are seething. Centrist blue MAGA Democrats? What does that even mean? The far right and centrist Dems are aligned on a lot of issues, unfortunately, including deplatforming the Sun. Oh no. Okay. I did not realize how quickly the centrist Dem influencers would immediately start pushing full MAGA talking points, but it could not prove the point of my article more. What? To even complain, compare like centrist Dems to MAGA is insane to me.
We're doing that. I think you were.
When you use centrist there, were you trying to imply that they were aligned with the DNC?
Well,
Ask the question about her intention.
Listen, Taylor, respectfully, I think you were doing. I think you were doing that. I think you.
I didn't even write that. I wrote the list of influencers' names. I didn't even originally.
Well, here we have. We have another spot here where you say that.
Wait, Hutch, before you do the next thing, because
I can't.
Taylor, you did say that I was putting words in your mouth, but if you search on your Twitter centrist, it's very clear that you use this as a pejorative term, and like that can be your opinion. That's fine, but to claim that that's not like your ideological spin is a little
But sure, but
frustrating.
I would say in what context is it? Is in what context? Because I think sure, certainly, do I get annoyed at certain centrist people? Sure.
I think that there was an intention there to be disparaging, and I think it's broader than that.
Okay, but this is just honestly, I didn't write the sort of things. It's fine if she had
It's
taken.
your name.
Just let me.
But it is your name on that paper. Yeah, you do have final say, don't you?
Finish.
credited
Instead
with
of
the story,
just let
Taylor.
me just let me finish.
Well,
Uh-oh, guys,
you
we're
have been
in
cutting me
interruptions.
off pretty consistently throughout this entire
All
exchange.
right. Well, then this is just not going to be. We're not going to be able to have a conversation because we're talking about a story that was edited by so many people, and I don't know what to tell you other than
Okay, so are you distancing yourself from that label?
Oh my God! If Olivia Juliana had reached out after that story and said, "You grossly mischaracterized my views. I'm not a centrist. Take it out. You mischaracterized it, whatever," I would have been happy to bring that to the editor, and the editor could have looked at her positions and decided whether or not that was correct.
Taylor,
this is how
her
journalism
opinion.
works.
But Taylor, her opinion is not especially relevant. Like if you're saying that the language, if you're saying that the centrist language was not something that you picked, is that your way of saying that you're kind of distancing yourself from that language?
I would have until this conversation called Olivia Juliana a centrist because she's a Democrat in a red state. And I would imagine that most people that are the Democrats in the red states lean to the center. Also, when I had spoken to her years ago, that was my understanding of her. And also,
Well,
that's again, no, we did not receive any criticism of this. This is the first criticism that I've even heard of this.
well,
So
I think it's important because I do think that
I'm
it was.
sorry you feel this way, but this is just
you don't need to
completely
apologize to me. I'm just
unproductive.
well,
I mean, it's just completely
I
unproductive.
feel like you're becoming quite defensive and evasive right
No,
now.
it's
And I feel like
frustrating
I'm
because I feel like I'm dealing with the white nationalist, because this is all I do all day
Really?
is go back and forth with
Dealing with a white nationalist.
white
Hutch is
nationalists.
bald by choice, but it's not because
It
of
is
that.
just,
Just
it
so
is
you
the
know.
same ridiculous argument where it's like, oh,
You think the
white
questions that I asked you amount to like being questioned by a white nationalist?
I will
that
tell
seems a
you, they
little
are the
much.
exact. Why don't you listen? They are the exact same words you're using, the exact same method of saying, right? When we write about Tucker Carlson, and I've gone back and forth with Carlson's team on this exact issue, right? We'll say, well, we characterize you as XYZ, far right. Right? Far right is actually even more common than the right with white nationalists. And every time I write about a right-wing influencer and we say, well, we are, whatever, here's the article, here, we're asking you for comment, blah, 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 blah. They will say, I'm not far right. I'm not far right. I'm progressive. In some cases, they even say, even Tim Pool types, I'm actually progressive. Okay, but
Taylor, I think
they're not.
But I feel like that is a huge difference between characterizing a center-left person as a centrist, because there is a clear distinction. There is such a distinction between, like, I understand what she's saying. I've been in that situation
just
too.
let me finish.
Well,
So
I've been in that situation too, where it's like, you are questioning somebody and they try to claim that, oh, I'm not really like that far right, or I'm not really that bigoted, or it's not about racism for me. I'm not a racist, and then you go through their Twitter and it's all racism. Like, I've definitely been in that situation. Or they'll be like, what's racist about saying certain people are more violent than others, and it's like, or saying certain people, it's as if like, but I didn't even want to get into that, right? Sure, that I understand it, but that is a world of a difference between mischaracterizing it's a world of a difference from mischaracterizing a center-left person as a centrist, because there is a very meaningful difference there, I feel. Is there not? Am I making sense? Like the term center or centrist Democrat, even, which is not what Juliana called herself. She called herself a moderate Democrat. Is different from calling somebody a centrist.
Like, you've been cutting me off this whole time.
well,
Respectfully.
okay, respectfully, all I am saying is that when you're writing an article, we do.
Like, I feel like this, does this make sense? Like, we've got the centrist here who's like, oh, I don't really know. Both parties are the same. Oh, no, I don't really know. I really think they're both the same, and, I don't really know who to vote for, and, I really think they're the same, and really they're both just, like, unqualified. Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump, I really don't know. I think they're the same. I feel like center-left is, like, there's a meaningful difference there. There really is, like... I don't know about all this trans stuff, even though it's only like 1% of the population and trans people don't even bring up trans stuff. It's really only right-wingers who bring up trans stuff, but I really don't know about this trans stuff that they keep talking about on Fox News. I don't know, but the left wing and the right wing, they're just the same. They're two sides of the same coin, and Kamala Harris is exactly the same as Donald Trump, so very different. That's very different, I feel.
Do our best to be accurate. Now, if Olivia Juliana is not a centrist, and that's so inaccurate, again, she could happily request a correction from Wired. She never did. No one
Hutch,
promised
Hutch,
that.
can I reframe this? Because like
ever raised.
the point is not necessarily whether or not it's accurate to call her a centrist. If this was like the specific pedantic sticking point, I can see
Well,
this
that
like,
seems
oh, this
what
is
it-
from.
that
Well,
seems
but
like
no,
the
but
whole
but
conversation that we're
it's not.
having.
What Hutch is getting at is that this article is clearly viewed as, hey, we're painting these poorest people who are taking this money as these kind of shills, these DNC operatives who are just paid to get these talking points and just repeat exactly what the do-nothing centrist Dems do, right? And that's kind of where the perspective that he's saying this is kind of like an opinionated.
That's taking a lot from an article that doesn't say a lot, and I don't doubt that that's how TikTokers were taking it, and that's not how TikTokers and people
Taylor,
on Instagram threads are taking it. But if you actually read the article,
Taylor,
you will see that it is quite clear what we say, and this is not a DNC.
Listen. But,
This is poor Shelby at the DNC had to literally kept being like, guys, this is not a DNC program. Obviously, they support the DNC. But the
Taylor,
DNC has its own influencer program.
On August 27th, you tweeted, the 90 influencers involved appear to be primarily centrist, pro-DNC,
Yes.
who have not spoken about Palestine are pro-Israel. Those are your.
I feel like characterizing them as centrist is kind of wild, right? It's just I would not call a moderate Democrat a centrist. I just don't understand this. I feel like should be very easy to understand, and they're going back and forth in a loop, basically. I mean, this is literally my OCD right now. Like, that they are just circling on the same points over and over again. This is literally me talking to myself in my brain. Like, like, and then she says, like, oh, well, some centrists worked on this too. Well, okay. No, Star, her state is red. Okay. I realized recently. Okay.
Or
well,
words.
yeah,
Yes.
But you just said a moment ago, you're kind of distancing yourself from that framing.
No, I didn't. What are you talking about? You.
That's what Soy Pill just confronted you with, and you said, well, I can
Oh my
understand why
God.
people walked
That they
away
are
with that,
centri-
but those are your
again,
words.
I'm sorry. They're centrist. Like, again, if Olivia Juliana is not a centrist, and that is factually wrong, and these people are not centrist, and this is factually wrong, that these content creators that are making content with
I mean, they seemed pretty upset when you came out with that article, right? Though, you know, it seems like a lot of the article people were much more upset about, like, the dark money thing. You know, they probably were way more upset about that than even being called centrist, but, like, yeah, I'm sure they were upset by that. She seems to change the point of the article depending on who she's talking to. Also, like I said, this is at least somewhat about Israel. Leftists use centrist as a slur. I don't know if they use it as a slur. I disagree with that, but they use it as a pejorative. She knows it, and so does everyone who watched this or read her article. She has an obligation to correct me after I have published the article about her. I'm a victim. Okay.
Schumer that are making content with Hakeem Jeffries. If they are not, if I was wrong, if this article is wrong and it's factually wrong, then I highly encourage them to ask for a correction. But no one has asked
Can we do
for
it
a
step by
correction
steps?
saying
So
that they are not centrist. No one.
Let's just do it step by step. Hutch, is it your contention that it's inaccurate to call Olivia Juliana a centrist?
I do believe that, yes, and I think that she
In
used
virtue
that
of
word
what?
intentionally. Well, I don't know why you're playing dumb here. You
Separate
understand that when Taylor uses that word, it's a pejorative.
Separate. No, wait, no, hang on. So
You
separate
understand
that
that,
intent.
Pisco.
So
You do.
you can make a critique of an article based on its accuracy or based on whether there's some bad motive.
I'm
in
trying
using
to
that term.
get to a larger.
Is it your contention? I know, but let's just do it step by step. Let's do it
I'm
step by step,
trying to,
right?
but you're
Is it
jumping in.
inaccurate? And so,
Okay.
and if it's inaccurate, why is it inaccurate?
It's inaccurate because her policy priorities do not line up with what any reasonable person would assert to be a centrist. When
And
you
this
look
is
at
what
the
they'll
things
say
that
of
she's
Tucker
advocating for.
Carlson and the
Okay,
She's implying that some of the shadowy money is APAC. That might be a good point. I really should just find, because I did read the article a long time ago, but I should really just find an archive of it. Give me a second, chat. In a private group chat in June, dozens of Democrat political influencers discussed whether to take advantage of an enticing opportunity. They were being offered $8K per month to take part in a secretive program aimed at bolstering Democratic messaging on the internet. And I can't read it. No, it won't let me read it. Won't let me read it. But the contract sent them to Chorus, nonprofit arm of... Okay. Okay, finally got it. Finally got it. Okay, give me a second, guys. In their group chat, but the contract sent to them from Chorus, the nonprofit arm of a liberal influencer marketing platform, came with some strings. Among the other issues, it mandated extensive secrecy about disclosing their payments and had restrictions on what sort of political content the creators could produce. In their group chat, influencers debated the details. Should we send a joint email with all of our email addresses, or are we just going to send things separately and hope they change everything for everyone? Lorenzo, a non-binary creator in Columbus, Ohio, with over 884,000 TikTok followers, asked the group. Some joked about collective bargaining. Any Newsies fans here? Eliza Orlins, a public defender and reality TV star known for her appearances on Survivor, posted in the group, "We're a union just by saying so." The influencers in the chat collectively had at least 13 million followers across social platforms. They represented some of the most well-known voices online, posting in support of the Democrats, and they're key to wherever the party moves next. But ultimately, the group didn't make much progress. Reading through this revised Chorus contract, like you win some, you lose some, a reproductive justice influencer named Pari, who posts under the handle Women in America, responded later in the thread. I also think there's at least 4 other things that should change, but the vibe I got from their email was that there would be minimal, if any, changes. Lorenzo Orlins and Pari did not reply to requests for comment. I don't feel strongly about pushing TBH. Aaron Parnas, a Gen Z news influencer who has been called the Gen Z Walter Cronkite and has been lauded in legacy media outlets, posted to the chat. They aren't going to modify it anymore. Seems like a take it or leave it. Parnas declined to comment. I believe we are in stage 5 acceptance, Pari responded. Creators began signing onto the deal. For years, Democrats have struggled to work with influencers. In 2024, President Joe Biden's White House snubbed several prominent content creators after they lightly criticized the administration over its policies on climate change, COVID, Gaza, and the TikTok ban. Content creators who challenged Kamala Harris, including Hassan Piker, of course she had to include Hassan Piker in there, including Hassan Piker, a well-known influencer on the left, were similarly unwelcome at campaigning events. After the Democrats lost in November, they faced a reckoning. It was clear that the party had failed to successfully navigate the new media landscape, while Republicans spent decades building a powerful and robust independent media infrastructure, maximizing controversy to drive attention and maintaining tight relationships with creators despite their small disagreements with Trump. The Democrats have largely relied on outdated strategies and traditional media to get their message out. Now, Democrats hope that the secretive Chorus Creator Incubator Program, funded by a powerful liberal dark money group called the 1630 Fund, might tip the scales. Okay, so that is the hypocritical part there. I'll highlight that. The program kicked off last month, and creators involved were told by Chorus that over 90 influencers were set to take part. Creators told Wired that the contract stipulated they be kicked out and essentially cut off financially if they even so much as acknowledged they were part of the program. Some creators also raised concerns about a slew of restrictive clauses in the contract. Influencers included in communication about the program, and in some cases an onboarding session for those, this is a confusing sentence. Influencers included in communication about the program, and in some cases, an onboarding session for those receiving payments from the 1630 Fund, include Olivia Juliana, the centrist Gen Z influencer. Centrist, yeah, see, that's where it is. Okay. The centrist Gen Z influencer who spoke at the 2024 Democratic National Convention, Lauren Peretra, a former Playboy executive turned political influencer who hosts a podcast for Occupy Democrats, Barrett Adair, a content creator who runs an American Girl doll themed pro-DNC meme account. Suzanne Lambert, who has called herself a Regina George liberal. Ariel Fodor, an education creator with 1.4 million followers on TikTok. Sandra Jennings, a former TLC reality star and an older brother of trans influencer Jazz Jennings. David Pacman, who hosts an independent progressive show on YouTube covering news and politics, Leigh McGowan, who goes by the online moniker Politics Girl, and dozens of others. The first 2 declined to comment. The rest did not respond to requests for comments. According to copies of the contract viewed by Wired that creators sign, the influencers are not allowed to disclose their relationship with Chorus or the 1630 fund, and functionally that they're being paid at all. But all these creators came out and said the opposite, right? Dozens of liberal influencers are believed to have been approached by Chorus about the 1630 fund financing opportunity this spring. They were told that Chorus appreciated the work they were doing online and were asked if they'd be interested in being part of the first cohort of a new program that Chorus was running to help expand their reach and impact, creators tell Wired. But following the initial outreach, many creators expressed concern about some stipulations. According to copies of the contract viewed by Wired, creators in the program must funnel all bookings with lawmakers and political leaders through Chorus. Creators also have to loop Chorus in on any independently organized engagements with government officials or political leaders. If I want to work with another politician, I have to fully collaborate with them, said one creator who was offered the contract but ultimately declined to take it and asked not to be named. If I get Zoran and he wants to do an interview with me, I don't want to give that to them. Creators in the program are not allowed to use any funds or resources that they receive as part of the program to make content that supports or opposes any political candidate or campaign without express authorization from Chorus in advance and in writing per the contract. The contracts reviewed by Wired prohibit standard partnership disclosures, declaring that creators will not publicize their relationship with Chorus or tell others that they're members of the program without Chorus's prior express consent. A screenshot from a slideshow was shared with Wired following this article's publication by Graham Wilson, a lawyer working with Chorus, that offers several talking points if a member of the cohort wanted to discuss Chorus publicly. Okay, so there's a correction there at least. So they were able to discuss Chorus publicly. They just had specific talking points about it. They forbid creators from disclosing the identity of any funder and give Chorus the ability to force creators to remove or correct content based solely on the organization's discretion if that content was made at a Chorus organized event. Okay. There are some real great advantages to housing this program in a nonprofit, Wilson said to creators on a Zoom call reviewed by Wired. It gives us the ability to raise money from donors. It also, with the structure, it avoids a lot of the public disclosure or public disclaimers, paid for by blah, 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 that you see on political ads. We don't need to deal with any of that. Your names aren't showing up on, reports filed with the FEC. Wilson did not reply to a request for comment before the article was published. The Federal Election Commission declined to comment. The goal, of course, according to a fundraising deck obtained by Wired, is to build new infrastructure to fund independent progressive voices online at scale. So, let's see. That's a goal that directly contradicts some of what Lorenz is saying, I guess. The creators who join the incubator are expected to attend regular advocacy trainings and daily messaging check-ins. Those messaging check-ins are led by Cohen on rapid response days. Creators also have to attend at least 2 Chorus newsroom events per month, which are events Chorus plans, often with lawmakers. Everyone refuses to talk to Wired, LOL. Yeah. Elizabeth Dubois, an assistant professor and university research chair in politics, communication, and technology at the University of Ottawa, who has researched the ways influencers are reshaping the U.S. political system, says that we are seeing influencers being pulled into these dark campaigns or shadow campaigns where the legal aspect is murky at best. Sometimes it is actually clear that influencers are being used to, for example, evade spending limits. I think that we need to remember that for democracy to thrive, we do need transparency around who is paying for political messages. If the contract is getting, I'm going to just kind of skim. If the contract is for getting money from a particular interest group says you can't disclose it, then it's pretty simple. You can't take the money. The outlined restrictions violate ethical norms. We're living in an era where a lot of powerful people have basically taken the rule book and thrown it out the window. Wilson maintained in a post-publication email that creators are free to work with other groups or take on other partnerships outside the course program and say whatever they want as part of work or on their own. Keith Edwards, excuse my language. Keith Edwards, a Democratic content creator who has skyrocketed to fame on YouTube since starting his channel last year, was not invited to be part of the program, but believes the way that it was structured seems predatory. He says that he would never agree to take part in a program that was run in secret or wouldn't allow him to disclose funding. What I don't understand is, why wouldn't you just donate to creators directly who have already built something and just need to put gasoline on fire? Says Edwards. Democrats at least understand that the internet exists now, so that's good. But they still think influencers are just there to do a terrible direct-to-camera interview that no one watches, rather than just treating us like another form of media. So then the rest of this becomes... The rest of this becomes about 1630. 1630 Fund has emerged as a powerful funder in democratic spaces in recent years. Its website notes that issues supported by the organization include economic equity, affordable health care, climate solutions, racial justice, voter access, and other essential social change goals. The organization was founded in 2009 as a liberal response to conservative dark money groups and organizations like the Koch network, and under Trump it has soared. It is always the subject's obligation to correct the journalists. They go to school for years to learn this, and not having absolute proof before saying things. Look, I didn't go to journalism school, so I can't say what the norms are here, and I don't want to claim that I know what the norms are, so. 2018, the 1630 Fund provided $141 million to more than 100 left-leaning causes in order to bolster Democratic support during the midterms, according to a tax filing obtained by Politico. In 2020, the fund distributed more than $400 million, according to the organization's public tax filing, which Politico said was used in efforts to unseat then-President Donald Trump and Republican Senate majority. In 2022, they spent $196 million backing state ballot measures on abortion rights heading into the midterms. This seems like good things, you know? Like, I understand the concern about, like, dark money or whatever, but, like, this is kind of just the way it is. I don't know. The 1630 Fund, which is not required to disclose its contributors, has for years been a major funding source for liberal and progressive causes and groups, including those that spend in elections. Though the recent tax returns indicate they have pulled back from the eye-popping sums they raised and spent in 2020, the organization is still one of the top spending politically oriented nonprofits in the country. Carol Mutter co-founded Chorus with Democratic influencer Brian Tyler Cohen, who has over 4.6 million subscribers on YouTube and leads messaging check-ins for the creator cohort on rapid response days. Chorus claims that its initial creator cohort has a collective audience of more than 40 million followers, with more than 100 million weekly viewers, and that the organization has hundreds of creators signed up and ready to amplify messaging. Many people wouldn't donate money if it wasn't anonymous. Yeah, I don't think dark money is necessarily a bad thing. That is a good point. Because, like, if you live somewhere where, or let's say you have family that's generally right-wing and you want to donate to, like, a left-wing cause, and the only way you could donate is if your name is on paper, or if, like, let's say you donate to Planned Parenthood, like, you don't want to, like, be, I don't know, disowned by your family or whatever. Or if you donate to, like, an organization that supports trans youth or something, right? And you are in a conservative family or something, you don't want people to, like, search your name and see it come up on these donations. So... or people to harass you. Yeah, somebody to show up with a gun. Yeah, it's crazy. especially with like the anti-abortion activists. Some of them are insane, right? I'm not going to read the rest of this, but let's watch the rest of this.
All right.
That's fine.
I mean, you can say, you can just make this argument about anything.
But what does it mean to be pro-DNC or pro-Israel?
They want,
what does that mean?
So pro-DNC means pro-Democrat, like pro sort of the Democrat establishment, what I would say, which is very much Course's goal. And pro-Israel means that the majority of people that we found that were public, which is why I think it's so crucial for them to actually release these names publicly, because I think if this is not the majority view held among their creators, they should release these names publicly to make it clear what is the ideological makeup of their chorus class. But
so this is just like a call for people who happen to be pro-Israel to be harassed then, basically, right? Who are being funded to be harassed until they're dropped from their funding. Okay.
A lot of the people that we found were also pro-Israel, meaning they were expressing support for Israel against and
how many creators out of like all the creators that you saw would you say were posting pro-Israel posts? Can you name names there?
Well, that's the point, right? Is that they haven't.
So she's claiming that people are pro-Israel who are part of this, but then is unable to name them when she's questioned about it, right?
Published the people that we found were also pro-Israel, meaning they were expressing support for Israel against and
how many creators out of like all the creators that you saw would you say were posting pro-Israel posts? Can you name names there?
Well, that's the point, right? Is that they haven't published the roster.
She means Pac-Man. So one guy. Okay.
They haven't.
I'm not sure what this point is. I'm really confused by this.
And this is what they'll say of Tucker Carlson and
okay, that's fine.
I mean, you can say, you can just make this argument about anything.
But what does it mean to be pro-DNC or pro-Israel?
Accurate to call Olivia Juliana a centrist.
I do believe that, yes, and I think that she used that word intentionally. Well, I don't know why you're playing down here. Do you understand that when Taylor uses that word, it's a pejorative?
No, hang on. So separate that intent. So you can make a critique of an article based on its accuracy or based on whether there's some bad motive.
I'm trying to get to a larger.
Is it your contention? I know, but let's just do it step by step. Let's do it step by step, right? Is it inaccurate? And so, and if it's inaccurate, why is it inaccurate?
It's inaccurate because her policy priorities do not line up with what any reasonable person would assert to be a centrist. When you look at the things that she's advocating for. Okay, that's fine.
I mean, you can say, you can just make this argument about anything.
But what does it mean to be pro-DNC or pro-Israel? What does that mean?
So pro-DNC means pro-Democrat, like pro sort of the Democrat establishment, what I would say, which is very much Course's goal. And pro-Israel means that the majority of the people that we found that were public, which is why I think it's so crucial for them to actually release these names publicly, because I think if this is not the majority view held among their creators, they should release these names publicly to make it clear what is the ideological makeup of their chorus class. But a lot of the people that we found were also pro-Israel, meaning they were expressing support for Israel against and
how many creators out of like all the creators that you saw would you say were posting pro-Israel posts? Can you name names there?
Well, that's the point, right? Is that they haven't published the roster. They have.
I understand her point here then, where she's like, oh, the ones that were public, we saw majority of them were like pro-Israel, but like, again, I still don't understand what the point is of this. I don't understand what the point is of this. Like, okay, like, it's a creator program. It's being funded by like dark money or whatever. Who cares? I don't care about dark money. I actually don't. I've decided I don't care about it. Like, I just don't care. I've decided I don't care about dark money. Is that wrong? Am I wrong about that? I don't care. But I don't understand. What's the point of bringing up Israel here now? I'm so confused.
Published the roster, but a decent amount of ones that we checked.
Am I stupid? Is this? Am I just like? Do I not have any like listening comprehension? Is that what's happening here? Because I'm really confused as to why Israel is being brought up here. I'm so confused. I mean, obviously they're pro DNC. What do you think it's going to be? Like, it's a chorus, right? They're very explicit about what they're pro DNC. Yeah, of course. They're pro progressive politicians. Yes, of course. They're going to be pro DNC. But I don't understand what the point is of bringing up Israel. I'm very confused here.
Anybody in the people that you mentioned in the article, so like Olivia Pac-Man, Brian Tyler Cohen, did any of them post pro-Israel content?
You'll have to go check their specific feeds. But Brian Tyler Cohen,
you claim that they were primarily pro-Israel, right?
Yeah, well, some people that are pro-Israel just don't speak about the genocide in Gaza.
Oh, so she's saying if you don't speak about the Middle East, then you're pro-Israel. So that's her So he's saying, okay, she's saying the public creators, the creators that we know of that are part of this program that are public, they're pro-Israel. Then he asks, okay, which ones of them are pro-Israel, or do you have evidence of them being pro-Israel? And she said, well, some of them don't talk about Israel. They're pro-Israel in that they don't speak about it. Okay, so this is like a purity test now. It's become a purity test.
All, for instance, and
that's
that's
not the
another
same thing as being pro-Israel.
Yes, because
the
way that pro-Israel narratives have been shaped by the media is by not mentioning the genocide. So refusing.
You can be. Oh man, I don't agree with this at all. I don't agree with this at all. There are people who just don't want to step foot into that whole thing because it's so explosive. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're pro-Israel because they don't want to talk about an explosive topic that is going to get them on the losing side no matter what side they take.
Intentionally refusing to cover the genocide, especially as it was this politically relevant topic.
Is that what you were alleging?
No, that's, well, I'm just saying, like, if you look at the pro-Israel kind of creator landscape, there's a range of pro-Israel people. There's people that are straight up making content with the IDF. They're super overt about it. And then there are people that are a little bit more behind the scenes, people that are a little bit quieter about it. They might not be overt, but they're still.
But by the way, that you're suggesting that if somebody chooses not to discuss the genocide in Gaza, and like, does that make
so not morally grandstanding about Gaza 24/7 equals pro-Israel now? This is okay. I'm not going to read that out loud, but yeah, I feel like that's a pretty big stretch. Just like saying that somebody who's a moderate Democrat is a centrist is a pretty big stretch.
The pro-Israel. I find that to be.
No, that's not what I said. That's not what I said.
Wait a second.
What I said is that some people. No, what I said is that some people who are pro-Israel, they're the way that they sort of. The way that their content manifests is that they are not as overt. So what they'll do is they'll try to tamp down discussion. They'll be sometimes deleting comments, a lot of times just intentionally.
Well, that doesn't mean they're pro-Israel. It just means they don't want to discuss the topic. And I think if your focus is on U.S. domestic policies, like, I understand why certain content creators don't want to touch the topic, right? To say that they're pro-Israel by the fact that they don't talk about the genocide, like, that's insane to me. There are people out there who don't want to talk about that because it is a losing battle no matter what side you take.
Ignoring the issue, or when they're asked to interview a politician, especially this was a big issue in the lead up to the 2024 election, you had people saying, like, sort of minimizing the issue, attempting to minimize it, attempting not to get people on the left to talk about it.
Okay, does that qualify, or does that apply to any creator that was mentioned in your article?
Well, you'll have to go through and do an audit of all of their content, but it's certainly
like, what? How are you going to make this claim and then say you're going to have to go through the article and audit their content? You're the one who wrote the article. You had a team of 15 people. You can't tell me, you don't have the ability to tell me what's in your article. You don't have the ability to tell me that you can back up your source. You back up your claims that you've made with, like, actual sources. Excuse me? Wait, am I crazy? I feel like I'm crazy. You are telling me you had 15 people working on this article, and he's asking you a question about the people who you are saying are part of this program, who you're claiming are pro-Israel, but you're saying, oh, you'll have to go through the article and audit them individually. You didn't do that. You had 15 people working on the article.
Your job, though?
You are the main person on the article. I feel like you should be able to respond with, like, you should be able to respond to this. You should know your article in and out.
The way that their content manifests is that they are not as overt. So what they'll do is they'll try to tamp down discussion. They'll be sometimes deleting comments, a lot of times just intentionally ignoring the issue, or when they're asked to interview a politician, especially this was a big issue in the lead up to the 2024 election, you had people saying, like, sort of minimizing the issue, attempting to minimize it, attempting not to get people on the left to talk about it.
Okay, does that qualify, or does that apply to any creator that was mentioned in your article?
Well, you'll have to go through and do an audit of all of their.
Bro, what kind of response is that? What kind of response is that? That is insane. That's an insane response.
Content, but it's certainly
well, it's not your job, though. You made the claim.
Yeah,
you said that the group was primarily pro-Israel. Isn't it your job to go through their
from the group that we saw? From the amount of creators that we saw, that was a common theme. But that wasn't necessarily a.
You didn't say a common theme. You said they were primarily pro-Israel.
Yeah, from the group of creators that we saw, that we were evaluating.
So I'll ask again, was anybody that you mentioned in your article someone that you would say was pro-Israel?
Well, you'll have to go look at the article and figure that out for yourself based on the creators.
Wait,
not
I'm
all of
speaking
the
with
creators.
you. I don't understand.
But we're not going to.
Yeah, you can.
There's a lot of creators that we spoke to for this article that we know are in chorus that weren't mentioned in the article.
I'm just asking you if anyone in your article you consider to be pro-Israel.
Well, I don't know. You'll have to. I really don't.
You don't know? You know about the people who are not mentioned in your article, but not the people who are mentioned in your article. That is insane. That's insane. Am I crazy? I feel like I'm going crazy.
Don't remember which creators that we named and didn't name off the top of our head, but I think you can just go and look at them and frankly ask the creators themselves. That's a great thing
I
to
just
do
don't know why
as
you would
well.
say that 90 influencers were primarily pro-Israel, but you can't name.
No. We said 90. We said the creators that we were able to suss out as being part of the program. So one thing that we asked, is for them to publish a roster so that people could take a broader look. Maybe this is just a section, right? Maybe this is just a small section.
So it could be an unrepresentative section.
Exactly. It could be a totally unrepresentative section. They could have.
But what was the methodology to decipher whether they're pro-Israel? Was it
mostly whether like their own statements or whether they had shown up in other influencer, like pro sort of Israel influencer efforts broadly. I mean, there are people also that I've talked to in this program that identify as Zionists privately and don't want to identify as a Zionist publicly. So I'm not trying to put specific creators on blast. I actually don't think that being pro or anti-Israel was ever something that was necessarily, something that would get you in or out of chorus at all. But it clearly is a.
That's useful to clear up. So
yeah.
As you said.
So then, what's the point of even bringing it up being them being pro-Israel or them being Zionist? What's the point if you don't think that them being pro-Israel or them being Zionist has anything to do with whether they're accepted into the chorus program or not? What is the point of bringing it up? Like, if you're not trying to paint a specific narrative here, right? This is a little bit okay. I see why people are going a little bit fucking crazy over this article now. Thank you for the $5 super chat, Lost Coyote. Taylor Lorenz is a weasel. You don't say. Next time you're gonna tell me the sky is blue. Jesus. Okay, so okay, let's just listen to that one part one more time.
Was ever something that was Zionist privately and don't want to identify as a Zionist publicly. So I'm not trying to put specific creators on blast. I actually don't think that being pro or anti-Israel was ever something that was necessarily something that would get you in or out of chorus at all, but it clearly is a.
That's useful to clear up. So
yeah,
as you sit here, there's.
Okay, but why even mention it? Why even mention it if it's not relevant to whether these creators were in chorus or not?
That after the story went up too, yeah.
But
as you. Go ahead, Hutch.
But in your conversation on current affair, you did absolutely buy into the manufacturing logic that those hosts were presenting, which they were saying that they were heavily suggesting that the creators that were invited into chorus were chosen because they were not speaking up about Gaza.
So you're talking about a guy that used to work for Brian Tyler Cohen, who was working.
No, I understand that, but you agreed with that
framing. For David Pakman. Well, listen, I'm not going to disagree with whatever he wants to say. Was his experience working for David Pakman, one of the leaders of chorus? This is his former producer.
He was commenting on your reporting. He was going beyond his experience, and he was suggesting that chorus was choosing creators because they were not speaking up about Israel.
He said that he was told when he worked for David Pakman that they were not supposed to be overt about the Israel stuff.
No,
and you can go back and listen to that and take issue with that. But he worked for David Pakman. I'm not going to argue with him working for David Pakman.
Taylor, he was speaking about your reporting.
In the context of his job, he worked for David Pakman. He was David Pakman's producer, so he would know better than anyone whether David Pakman, what his boundaries were around issues related to Israel and what sort of content they wanted to put up. He would know. He was literally David Pakman's producer, so he knows a lot better than I do. He has a lot more visibility into David Pakman's content than I do.
I think you're being evasive again because I'm not talking about his experience. I'm talking about his characterization of your reporting.
Well, his characterization is shaped by his experience, which he has a lot more of than I do.
But you bolstered that suggestion of manufacturing consent about this issue in Gaza.
I'm gonna again defer you to him. He actually worked for David Pakman.
So you agreed with the framing, Taylor. You agreed with the framing when they were having that conversation.
He worked for David Pakman. So if he says that these were the lines that David Pakman drove when he worked for him, and that David Pakman told him this, and he had visibility not into just David Pakman, but all these sort of people that David Pakman worked with, I am gonna listen to him because again, he's a primary source.
Another part of your reporting referred to an older article that you wrote, I think a few months before this chorus one, and you had described a 2024 situation where the Biden administration was, your quote was, snubbing creators who had lightly criticized Biden. Do you remember saying that?
I think you're talking about my Washington Post article when I wrote about the Biden administration effectively blacklisting content.
Okay, so this is actually more accurate. So center right implies that they're center, or not center right, but if they're a centrist Democrat, right, that means they're somewhere in the middle of like the Democrat spectrum, right? I think this is more accurate. So they'd be somewhere in the middle of the Democrat spectrum. And if they were a centrist Republican, they'd be somewhere in the middle of the Republican spectrum. And then if they were a moderate like Democrat, I feel like they'd be a little bit closer to the center, but they're still not a centrist. You know what I mean?
Creators.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in your Wired article about Chorus, you described that as the Biden. You said in 2024, President Joe Biden's White House snubbed several prominent content creators after they lightly criticized the administration over its policies on climate change, COVID, Gaza, and the TikTok ban.
Yes. Yeah, they did.
Right.
Yeah.
My issue with that is the word lightly, because I actually clicked on that article and I looked up the creators that you mentioned in that article. One of them was Aidan Cohn Murphy. He was tweeting that Biden created a man-made famine, was ignoring the law to enable
but he was
genocidal
blacklisted before
attacks.
all of that. He was blacklisted for the climate stuff.
Well, you mentioned him, and so like when you say
Right,
lightly,
but at that point he had only lightly criticized. So Biden, the Biden.
no, that's not true. I went through his tweets and I found tweets in 2024. of him,
you're talking about Aidan Cohn Murphy, who
Yes.
is the co-founder of TikTok for Biden. Just to be clear,
I
the
understand.
co-founder of TikTok for Biden. So Aidan ended up being very critical of Joe Biden.
That was a 2020.
However,
That was a 2020 effort, right?
No, that was well into 2022. That
The
was through
TikTok for
midterms.
Biden?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Gen Z for Change was
but in
TikTok for Biden.
2024, Taylor, he was directly accusing Biden of being complicit in genocide.
But we're not talking about that. He's speaking, by the way, as a member of Gen Z for Change, and he's talking about the evolution of TikTok for Biden through Gen Z for Change. And part of the reason why TikTok for Biden became Gen Z for Change, and part of the reason why there was this whole evolution, is because Biden's digital, whoever was in charge of sort of digital press there, was blacklisting creators that were even just lightly critical. And I'm not saying that
these
Aidan.
creators are not lightly criticizing
Sure,
Biden.
maybe Aidan eventually was not, but
It
I
wasn't
will.
just him. There was also Elise Joshi. She made similar accusations.
So
she accused the Biden administration of being complicit in genocide, right?
No. But Elise wasn't banned for any of that. It was the climate stuff. This was the climate stuff, and for COVID. So this is all back in 2022, 2023, even 2021, when Biden started to say, "Hey, COVID is."
Is there anything more interesting in this? Because I kind of want to move on to Pisco and Hutch.
They were told. I'm asking you, did you actually get a single example from any creator who actually had to funnel booking through Chorus?
Well, yeah, we spoke to a lot of creators that funneled booking through Chorus.
No.
Yes.
Hang on. I'm asking you, did you talk to anyone that told you that all of the bookings that they did had to go through Chorus?
We spoke to a creator who was told that all of the bookings that they had to do if they wanted to do bookings, it would have to be filtered through Chorus. And so he chose not to take that. Just let me finish. Why don't you let me finish?
You're not answering my question.
I am answering your question.
You're not. I'm asking
Yes, I
you
am.
in practice. Did you have a single example of a creator who told you that Chorus in practice told them they had to funnel everything through Chorus?
Yes.
Can you? What you just described was not that. So could you?
Well, I'm trying to
elaborate?
give you additional context, but you don't want it.
No, I do, but you're not answering my question.
I just answered your question. Yes.
I don't think you are.
Can you repeat it, Taylor, just in case Hutch missed something? But I'm not sure I heard it to be the same as what was described in the article. So
we spoke. I don't even think we went into this amount of detail in the article. We spoke to a creator that was told when he pushed back on the contract before the contract was signed. He was like, "Hey, I kind of want to sign this contract. I kind of want to do this program, but there's this clause that says I have to use the Chorus newsroom. Do I really have to use the Chorus newsroom for booking?" He was told through his agent, "Yes, you do have to use the Chorus newsroom for booking." Other people, when they took part in the program, when they said, "Oh yeah, I'm going to book this thing," they were told you have to use the Chorus newsroom for that, and they did ultimately use the Chorus newsroom. Other people used the Chorus newsroom and never questioned it. They didn't. It was in the contract, and it would have never occurred to them to even question what was in the contract because they signed a contract saying this, so they didn't challenge it. When they were asked for comment on this, Chorus didn't deny it. And that's the truth. That's all the information.
They didn't respond to it, but that's not the same as verifying.
No, they didn't deny it.
Well, that's not the same as verifying that the letter of the contract was actually being enforced, and that's the big issue here.
They didn't deny it, and they didn't deny it.
But that's still your job as a journalist to verify that it's something that's enforced.
We did verify it with the content creators who said on the record that this happened, and that's why it's in the story.
I don't think you demonstrated that in the story.
We have a quote from a creator saying that he chose not to sign the contract over this.
That's not the same thing, though. I feel like you're being quite.
Yeah. So to be clear, like Taylor, there's a difference between a creator understood this contract to be I can't do anything unless I go through the newsroom, and they were not allowed to do it unless they went through the newsroom, and unless they clarify that because they did not comment, it's not really established. And the article portrays it as that is exactly how it was.
The contract, that is how all evidence that we have shows that that's how it was. But did some people maybe not have the contract enforced against them? Sure, I'm sure, because clearly they were only enforcing certain parts of the contract for certain people. Yes. So clearly.
Well, no, I mean, what is your evidence for that, by the way?
Speaking to the content creators.
But nothing about that was in your article. That gave me the sense that they were giving preferential treatment and not enforcing it here and enforcing it there. That was not in your article.
Well, literally, I mean, you can see in the article, certain people, why do you think this article exists? Because the content creators were frustrated. They wanted to speak out about things. They felt like they weren't able to speak out. That's part of why they spoke.
Well, the other thing was like the takedown clause. Like that sounds very restrictive, right? The way that your article describes that language.
Okay, I'm getting bored. Chat, who's here? Who's awake right now? Should I move on to Hutch and Pisco fighting? Is it worth it? Is Pisco still streaming. I don't even know what I would argue with him about other than just like centrist doesn't mean this, right? She's been known to publish articles saying we reach out to XYZ and receive no response after sending them an email 15 minutes before publication. We can move on. Yeah. Okay.
You're lending legitimacy to her arguments, and I don't understand why.
In what sense am I lending legitimacy to it?
Because you're saying, well, in Taylor's mind, centrists can be progressive. No, that's not true. She was just lying in that moment. She was just debate broing herself into a stupid position. Like you would agree that Taylor Lorenz, when she used that language, centrist, for Juliana, she was trying to communicate something to her readers with that label. You're really kind of stretching them and kind of making them meaningless. Well, anybody could be a moderate when you think about it, right? That's kind of what you're doing, right?
Terminology.
That is like running cover for her use of that language. Whether or not it's what you intended, that's what you're doing, though. What I view what she did with her reporting after the fact and the way that she intentionally breathed oxygen into especially the Israel stuff, I thought that was morally like reprehensible.
To basically lambast,
to accuse
Brian Tyler Cohen, David Pakman, and these creators,
all of them,
of being like shills and like covering up for genocide. Essentially,
yes.
That's the implication, right?
Yeah. I thought that was morally reprehensible, and so I don't know. It's hard for me to understand your instinct in that moment to not just let the bad faith just be more and more expose itself more and more during that conversation. Instead, you jumped in to like try to help her with the argument. I think the biggest disagreement that you and I consistently have is you seem to take a view that the Democratic Party, in a realistic ideal state, would almost have like perfect unanimity. So like if you have 60 votes in the Senate, then you should expect 60 votes for each bill. Like you don't take it as far as Kyle does in terms of like bringing the IRS or the DOJ or something like that, but you get viscerally angry when there are 6 or 7 Democratic senators.
I'm gonna be real with you guys. I'm so bored of this drama. I actually am. I'm so bored by this. Wait, let me see. What is Pisco doing?
Argument on whether AOCs or others should have endorsed Mamdani.
Wait. Okay, sorry. You don't want me to interject, right?
I'm actually so bored by this drama. Like, this is such a nothing burger. Like, I'm so bored by it. I would rather watch Jeremy Boring talk to Lauren Southern. I find that more interesting and more outrageous. 6-7, nice one.
I would prefer Hassan over like Fetterman.
The reason people were thinking that was because when Hutch gave the example, yeah, I know. So when you gave the example of Epstein versus, who was it, Trump or Vance? Epstein versus Vance.
How do I call
the
him?
reason he said he would vote for Epstein, why did Hutch say he would vote for Epstein?
Why are you asking me a question? I asked you a question.
Okay, fine, I'll answer the same thing. Because Hutch asked that because he knew, or he did not know, Epstein's political views. So he viewed Epstein as just a bog standard liberal.
Do you remember what I asked you
for Epstein.
Just then?
Nope, repeat it.
Okay, so please listen to me when I'm asking something, okay? I try to listen to you when you're talking. I'm asking you, please listen to me when I'm talking. So I asked you a question, and I said, if it's the case that Hutch's defense and Hutch's of the lesser of two evils argument on his account as between horrible people, including but not limited to Epstein, including white nationalists, whatever, and just resolving that issue, if that's not considered sweeping for the respective group that he's choosing and holding his nose to vote for, if that's the case, that's not sweeping in that context, why would it be sweeping or defending in my context when I answer it differently?
So I would dissertain like both two different versions where I would agree with you. If Hutch, voted for said he would vote for the white nationalist, and if for 8 to 12 months before that, Hutch has been kind of dancing with and kind of people have been confused about whether or not he really supports white nationalists or not, even though he says he doesn't. I think it would be a little different. Yeah. I think that would make it more aligned with your situation. Because before that conversation, the Hassan and Vance one, there have been other couple little arguments like this where people had come to you and said, hey, it seems like you're attacking liberals more than lefties.
Okay, so it's not the case that there's parity there. You're kind of baking into all of this a preconceived notion or assumption.
So I can't say it's parity. So let me go back. So I don't think it's parity today because Hutch doesn't have the history of defending white nationalists. That
but that's what you're
people
trying to
perceive
prove.
you.
Do you understand?
Yeah, but
That's the
people
conclusion, right? The conclusion. So I'm just going to explain something. The conclusion you're trying to prove right now is that this is part of a track record. And so this is the thing called begging the question. You can't assume the conclusion as a premise of your argument, as a component of it to prove the case, right? You started this by trying to prove the case that I have this track record of defending lefties, and now you're baking it into one of the premises of your argument to try to construe my answer of that hypothetical differently than you would construe Hutch's answer to the hypothetical on Epstein. You understand the circularity problem there?
But do you understand that I haven't gone through all my examples because you wanted to stop?
No, it's not a problem of the examples. Like if whatever's feeding into the examples, if part of what's feeding into the examples in your construal of them is a conclusion you're trying to demonstrate, it's called begging the question.
No, it's not.
Okay.
I'm not begging the question. I'm using the examples I have to make my point.
No, okay, whatever you do though can't take into, you're trying to prove a track record, right? That is the conclusion you're trying to prove here.
Am I trying to prove?
What is the claim you're trying to prove?
I'm trying to wonder why everybody on the internet thinks one way about you, and you are the only person who really can't see what everyone else is seeing right now.
Isn't it obvious?
Go on.
Because you're a part of a cult and people are lying about my views.
What cult am I a part of?
You're a part of a cult that considers any take that is seen on the side of Hassan Piker as indicative of bad faith commie sweeping. And so on that worldview, of course.
So you don't think that Hassan is a bad faith?
That's not what I said.
Well, you
That's
said
not at
I'm
all
in
what
a
I
cult
said.
for believing that, right?
No, you're in a cult for believing that anyone who would say something that would waywardly be construed as in the benefit of someone on that side.
No.
That is considered, that's this burden of proof. That is the standard.
If you think if one person agreed with one thing that Hassan said, I would talk to that same person the same way I'm talking to you.
Well, I'm asking you to provide one account of a take that I've had that's unjustified, that's a bad take, and that fits this pattern. In other words, you need to prove a take that isn't explained by it being correct and accurate, and that fits into a pattern of bad faith agreement with Hassan Piker. That's what you need to show.
Okay. So other times that you've let me get through the other examples of
Sure.
Chat, I don't know how to get to his chat, his call-in place. I have no idea. Like, yeah, I'm in his Discord and somebody said, "Oh, you should look at the rules." I looked at the rules and I don't see anything. Okay. I don't know.
In virtue of having the stronger position, independent of bias. That's what you need to show. And in any given instance, right, the fact that it happens to align with what a lefty says doesn't prove that it's a biased or bad faith argument in favor of lefties in order to sweep for them.
So why do you think this keeps happening to you?
I already explained that. Did you not hear the answer?
Repeat it.
Okay. I said that you were part of a cult.
No. Not why does everybody else, like, why does your co-host think this?
Listen, let's not try to.
I'm just saying, I don't think he's in a cult, right?
Yeah, I haven't heard Hutch say that I'm a bad faith sweeper for tankies.
I didn't say you were bad. When did those words come out of my mouth?
Well, yeah, no. So and I don't know what you're claiming my co-host thinks about me.
No, I came into this conversation wondering why this always continues to happen to you.
Dude, I don't even know what the drama is between him and like that other community. I just wanted to talk about the centrist thing because I do think that it's pretty clear what we mean by centrist. Like, centrist, I don't know. Am I crazy? I feel like I'm crazy. Maybe I am crazy. Chat, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe you're watching a crazy person. What am I doing? What am I doing here? Why am I here? Why do I exist? Why am I here? I don't know what's going on.
wrong. And
No,
once you get
that's not
into
true.
a position,
No,
it's almost impossible to dig you out of it.
Yeah, no, that's some shit that Destiny has said about me.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard him say that about me.
Nope.
Okay, well, it's not the case that if I'm truly convinced one way or the other on a given thing, I will like resist it, or if I really truly believe the other, like something else. There have been cases where I've been convinced,
I'm gonna powder my
including
face, don't
notable
mind
instances that
me.
in our Discord and conversations about the felony murder. I had a position on reckless murder versus felony murder, and trying to maintain it that one was justified, the other wasn't. That felony murder was worse, and I gave that up, and I was proved wrong on that. I was proved wrong on my construal of Hitler being in favor of Christianity. Someone brought that up to me that wasn't correct, and I admitted to them on stream that wasn't correct. I mean, you're saying like these aren't examples. You're like like you're skeptical.
Well, like arguing over historical fact is a little different, especially like based on the conversation.
See, this is the kind of shit
past
like.
week.
So
no,
tell me what
you
would
had a
demonstrate to
conversation
you.
about the
tell me
definition of a word. All right, go ahead.
So tell me what evidence would I would need to show you, right? Is it
Chat, are you still here, by the way? Are you still here? I don't know if you guys are still here, but I wouldn't blame you for not being here anymore.
going down to the grave and fighting to the ends of the earth on a point I don't actually believe in, or once I've intuitively realized that it's like a wrong point to take? What would I have to show you to convince you otherwise?
Probably a pattern of behavior.
What a pattern of behavior of what?
Like,
I really am not super tuned into this drama. I'm only here for the centrist argument. I'm only here for the centrist argument. I don't give a fuck about the rest of it. I don't understand the point of why Taylor Lorenz brought up the Israel thing. To me, it's all nonsense, if I'm going to be real with you. It's all nonsense to me. Like, that entire thing was such a waste of time, and it feels like nonsense.
So what you just construed my opinion as is that my belief is that centrist means centrist Democrat. Is that really what you think my position is?
Yeah.
Okay, that I don't.
That's
know.
what we got for. That's what everybody got from your conversation.
Because okay, I have my own.
Everybody's wrong, but Pisco.
People understand what I was saying, and I'll just try right now to make sure that you understand it. All right.
Okay.
So what I said was clearly, there is no one meaning to the term centrist. You agree with that, don't you?
Yes, because it means different in a political context versus another context of word.
Yeah.
So
Even
already
you're even in a political context, it could mean multiple different things, right? But we're not talking about centrist. We're talking about centrist Democrat.
To multiple plausible meanings means by definition.
Only one meaning in politics, boy. Only one meaning in politics.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
That's not true. I agree with you.
But by definition, it means analytically, it is entailed that if I maintain that centrist has multiple.
But it doesn't matter if centrist has multiple definitions or multiple meanings in politics. What matters is that how was it meant? Can we ascertain how it was meant? And I don't even care about Taylor Lorenz's article, but I think it's pretty evident to everybody that anybody with a brain who is somewhat on the left, a liberal or a leftist, it's pretty. I feel like it's normal for anybody to be able to tell what Olivia Juliana means, right?
That follows, right? Do you understand that?
But in the.
I don't want my argument to be ruined by listening to this garbage. If I'm going to be honest with you guys, I don't want to. I'm just gonna. How do I? Is it off? Is he offline? Did he go offline? Please tell me he didn't go offline. Oh, okay. He's still on.
In the context of the inner Democratic divisions, there's the centrist Democrats and there's the left-wing Democratic Socialists. And someone said to you, first of all, do those concepts map onto things you've heard? Centrist Democrats, those terms.
I would have used a different word.
No, I'm not asking if you personally would have used a different
No,
term.
I would not.
right?
No, I would not use centrist type. I would.
I'm
use the
not
word
asking
moderate.
whether you. I'm not asking what you
moderate.
would use. Do you understand? I'm not asking what your preference and use of terminology is.
When I say me, what I would say, I'm saying what the general use of that word and how I would expect to hear it in a conversation. If I
Okay. I just want to finish this and watch Jeremy Boring talk to Lauren Southern, if I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm half working on the side, lol. That's on Pisco for latching onto this, not anyone else's fault, much less spectators viewing his flailing. I don't even know if he's flailing. I just don't know, you know, so. I'm just going to block this person. I've become very easy to block people. Like, when people start insulting me, I'm just, if people are being rude to me, I'm just gonna block them, honestly. It must be tough to be Pisco right now, because he is under the fire a lot. I will say that. And, you know, I don't think he deserves all the fire that he gets. I will say that. I do think he can be really pedantic sometimes, but I understand it, because I can be pedantic too. And I think it's really funny to be annoying, so. I think it's very funny to be annoying. It's like my entire job is just to be annoying, you know? Pisco said AOC was a centrist. I'm not gonna... I hope he didn't say AOC is a centrist. I hope he didn't say that. That's funny. But I hope he didn't, because that's crazy. Oh, somebody gave me access to something. Thank you, whoever gave me access. I want to watch ContraPoints on Bad Faith Pod. I don't want to argue about this. Somebody let me know, I guess. Or I'll keep an eye out. I just don't want to listen to this argument because I don't want it to cloud my judgment or cloud like my things that I wanted to talk to him about. I didn't know Mind Waves was still around. Interesting. But I'm gonna probably pre-block this person because they absolutely hate my guts. Let's see. Oh, I should go banana mode for this.
That at a certain point, maybe it's your fault for not listening. And if this is the first time you're hearing me say that I think it's my position that Taylor was using that term as a pejorative, that's not my fault. I say it so often in the last 3 days that that's my position. In the conversation with Hutch that you're referencing, I start the conversation by saying, hey, Hutch, I agree with your conclusion that she's using this as a pejorative.
Mm-hmm.
How the fuck am I supposed to better inoculate myself from being misunderstood?
Senators that are breaking
Consistent, no matter which way you slice it.
Yeah,
And
that was
maybe there's a good reason, right? Go for it. Sorry.
I do think there is a good I mean, like, I do think you can make a good argument for that kind of thing being limited to like leadership, because it is just the truth that like what I would.
Can somebody explain to me what the disagreement between Hutch and Pisco is? Because I don't know that I have the patience to watch this entire thing.
Like all dozens, hundreds of logistical problems that existed all over the country, which is to say that I would expect in an autopsy like that for there to be a robust data set of all kinds of different variables. And I think it is the case that if you release something like that is that granular, that it does give bad faith actors some ammunition to cherry pick data points and then try to paint a larger narrative, which is divisive at a time when we're already doing like really good and the Republican Party are not doing really good. So, you know, like I
don't even think they know. Okay.
Understand that argument. I think the blunder that he made was running on it and then not releasing it, because like I think in chess there's a term blunder, and it's just it's there's like bad moves in chess, but there's like levels to it, and a blunder is just like just a straight up bad move. It's just obviously bad. It's just like the worst kind of bad moves. This was one of that, because I just don't think he quite understood just how much the DNC and perception of the DNC still continues to be really, really bad as like a relic from the 2016 stuff. And they already have like this right or wrong, you know, to what degree or whatever, they already have this reputation of being very, very much not transparent and very much like deceptive. And he played right into that with this, and he just like gave all of them ammunition against the DNC. So it was a blunder. Yeah, that's
what kind of where I'm getting at. Yeah, so like I'm amenable to the argument that there's such thing as like confidential information that shouldn't be released to the public. The DNC has internal deliberations and everything, and like I don't have this kind of like ex-ante view that everything that should be done that's deliberated behind closed doors should be released. That's not. I'm someone who thinks that like there's problems, even though I agree with ultimate disclosure of the Epstein files. I think that there's been a lot of untalked about costs to this, even the way they're doing it now, which isn't even a full release of the Epstein files. And so I'm not someone who's
Hutch is fighting against Tankies and Hassan for shitting on Democrats. Pisco is perv debating Hutch for doing that. That's my high-level helicopter view of what's been happening. Okay, that makes kind of sense. That kind of makes some sense. I would agree with that. I think that you're probably. I think Pisco. I think he can't help it. You know, he's got debate brain. It's okay. He can't help it.
Says maximum disclosure at all times is like a per se good. And I would even be open to saying, well, okay, let's keep it more limited ex ante. The thing is, we don't live in an ex ante world. We live in a world in which the context is he did in fact make those kinds of statements, which were interpreted by people a certain way. Ex ante means like before the model applies, right? Before from a perspective before the thing. When that party really, they said we talked to people in the know, and they would have access to a lot of these people who say that the reason that Martin is not disclosing it doesn't have to do with Israel, Palestine, doesn't have to do with anything in particular, other than the report was really, really badly done, and essentially it was like a fucked up process, and it was just like a bad report, embarrassing report that isn't like worth publishing. If that's the case, I'm like, Jesus Christ! Like if that's the reason, that's like just a bad. Like just do the report right then, right? Just do it correctly. But yeah, and it's just gonna have a life of its own. So yeah, I think that is a big mistake.
Well, let's talk about Taylor Lorenz. Let's talk about that pod. When you were interjecting, was your goal to? Here was my sense of things. Tell me if I'm wrong. I think there were a couple things going on there, maybe a few. I think the first thing that popped into my mind was that I suspected that you might have been wary of the optics of a pylon, and so you saw me and Soypill kind of bouncing off each other, and then you didn't want the optics to be like
the main reason, but it's something I thought about. Yeah,
I felt like maybe that was partly motivating you, but also there was also it did take. I think, well, you tell me.
And I think that's fair. You want guests to feel comfortable coming onto your show, right? So you don't want it to be like a complete pile-on. I think even the guys on Trigonometry do this, right?
I mean, were you trying to, did you meaningfully disagree with the points that I was making, or did you think that the arguments could have been sharper?
Some of them.
Or did you think that like the arguments could have been sharper, and that's what motivated you to jump in when you did?
I guess that's an important distinction to make in terms of disagreement. It depends on which. I disagree, perhaps, and maybe you didn't mean it, but as I was hearing it, what you said about the disclosure. So I disagree with that. So anytime I disagreed, I felt that I wanted to raise it. So that was a sufficient condition for me to.
Which part about the disclosure? Which part?
that the article doesn't in fact, that it's untrue. The statement that it was untrue that the contract prohibited disclosure of the relationship. That statement, that whole exchange. And regardless of whether it's true or not, my perception was that there was a factual error there. So if I perceived a material factual error, I almost.
Am I wrong for not caring about dark money? Cut to Fresh and Fit. I cannot stand Fresh and Fit. But am I wrong for not giving a shit? Like, I just don't care about dark money. I do not care.
I was going to like step in at some point, at least as I heard it. So that was enough. I don't know on the centrist point whether I quote unquote disagree with you. On that point, I felt that we were spinning our wheels in something that was not helpful for the discussion and therefore needed to be clarified. And that is just a very specific point, not on the claim that you made. And I think you and Soypal made it quite well, that centrist is used as a pejorative. I agree with that. And I agree that like when you pulled up all of those instances where she uses centrist, that's at least that's good evidence, right? That this is being used as a pejorative. What I disagreed with was substantially disagreeing on the fact of the matter regarding Olivia Juliana being a centrist itself. The reason I disagree with that is because obviously the term centrist is capable of multiple reasonable interpretations of what it means. There's not like one single objective definition of the word centrist. And so I would sooner have, and I thought it would have been better if we just get clarity and insight on Taylor's term centrist. What do you mean? What did you mean, Taylor, when you wrote centrist, right? And do you agree that that is a proper label? And so why? Why is it a proper label? And that actually is effective, I think, for you. If you're able to say, well, all I mean by centrist, if Taylor says all I mean by centrist is aligned with the Democratic Party, that's additional evidence that her calling it out is not a good explanation. And it's not a good explanation. Then the article would be like, well, I just wanted to make sure that the reader knew that Olivia Juliana was aligned with the Democratic Party. That's all kind of presupposed in the fact that they're part of course in the first place. And so it lends more plausibility to the argument that it's being used as an indicator, right? As a framing device. And so rather than trying to like, to bog you down, I was trying to do the opposite. I was trying to be like, why are we talking about whether it's true or not, whether she's centrist? Let's just get clarity on what Taylor meant and then go to the thing that matters, which is the framing.
Let's zoom out a little bit. I want to go back to the Olivia thing, but I want to ask you because I went in there.
You know what? I don't even disagree with Pisco on this point here that he just made about centrism. Like, yeah, the important point is to ask, okay, Taylor Lorenz, what do you mean by centrism? But never forget that not mentioning Palestine means you're a staunch Zionist. Okay.
Back and forth about like what I wanted, what my goals were with the conversation with her, and I had like 4 different outlines of like lines of questioning, and it changed like right up into like the last minute. But what do you think I was trying to uncover and expose in that conversation, just like at a macro level?
That the article takes a ideological stand against a certain group of people and portrays them as villains in this battle for the soul of the Democratic Party, and that the people who are the good guys in the story are the non-centrist, non-Hassan types. I thought that you're trying to basically, this isn't just a factual article, it's a polemic. That's, I think, the point that you were trying to raise.
Yeah. So that's why I asked her the first question, what is the crux of your article? Because when I was doing the research for the debate, I watched a ton of her podcast appearances, and unsurprisingly, including the conversation she had with you, and unsurprisingly, she framed the article very differently depending on who she was talking to. So when she was in explicitly leftist spaces, it was about this. What did you say? What is the word polemic? What does that mean?
It's like an argumentative article that is trying to, it's usually like castigating or taking a stand fiery against a particular view. Right. So it's like opinionated. A
speech or a piece of writing expressing a strongly critical attack on a controversial opinion about someone or something. Okay, yes, so that's good. I'm going to start using that word. So yes, I do think that she was pushing a polemic in that article. Did I use that right? Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And by the way, I agree with that.
Okay. So and I thought what was especially revealing was for example, when she was talking with you, it was about disclosure. You guys, you focused on the disclosure part. You didn't really get much into the stuff that I was talking about. And in other spaces that she went to, center left spaces, she kept on emphasizing, nowhere in my article did I say anything about Israel. That we're not, I can't tell that nothing in our reporting revealed that this was about ideology. It was just, but then when she would go into, and especially on her YouTube video that she put out the day of the article, it was all about that polemic. It was all about like, they didn't even approach Hassan Piker because he's so virtuous that why would they? Because this is like a corrupt thing. Which
so
I'm also interested before we even get like just a side detour. I think what she's doing is like very tricky for her because I think she's trying to be like a hybrid influencer / journalist. But if you write a piece of reporting,
it doesn't work.
I don't know. I feel like it's important that you.
I think she is both. I think she wears different hats at different times, and I agree that sometimes. And that's ironically one of the questions I asked was like, how do you separate these two different roles, and what do you see as them? And she references this distinction when she's like, one of the problems here is that they're labeling themselves a journalist, and so I agree. This two different role thing sometimes will.
Yeah, if you're a content creator, you should not be labeling yourself as a journalist at all. Period.
cause issues. Unfortunately, like it just is the case that even a lot of like articles that claim to be objective, whatever, even just choosing what to edit, choosing what to highlight, all these editorial decisions are in some sense normative. Like the New York Times, when it construes a given phenomena a given way with a certain terminology, there is some normative aspects to it. I think what most people are trying to get at, though, is that like the journalistic process, when you wear a journalistic hat, it implies some level of standard of procedure governing you. And so, yeah, and I do agree that there's oftentimes it's unclear which hat is being worn in which conversation, and it can lead to big problems for Taylor. As
I question the ethics of it, because it is normal for journalists when they write some big piece to go on like a media tour to talk about their reporting. But what you don't normally see are journalists that are expanding on their reporting in ways. So, like for example, she had this larger commentary.
You mean I can't just wear a journalist vest while walking my dog at a protest? What is the difference between press and like, is press necessarily journalists? Because it was a press vest, right?
With her tweet, which I thought was really damning, when she said the day that it was posted, of the 90 influencers we saw, they were mostly centrist, pro DNC / pro Israel.
Yeah, that was the most brutal part of the whole thing. I think was the lack of any methodology there. And you were able to highlight that.
But you didn't. But she didn't add that in her article because like she couldn't substantiate that, right? So like to me, it feels like there's a big ethical question here about like, you didn't have the goods to like nail them down in the article that this thing was going on, but then you go over to your social media feed and you like kind of supplement your reporting with things that were not established. And to me, that's
aren't just opinions; they're statements of fact, right? There's some sort of factual allegation there that would seem to be like, well, some kind of addendum or some kind of additional inference that maybe isn't in the article, but might carry the imprimatur of why.
And again, I'll say like I don't know the first thing about journalism, like, but it just feels like there's a pretty clear difference between like some of the influencers we've interacted with here versus what a journalist is, right? So members of the press are generally considered journalists. Okay. I mean, there is like biased journalism. Like it's not like against the laws of journalism, or what, if there are laws of journalism. I mean, there's opinion and editorial journalism, right? So opinion pieces, I guess, are kind of like, I still feel like opinion pieces are still a little bit more robust than what an average influencer does, right?
In a way that people should read into. Right. Now she disclaims that, right? She says the article stands for itself. In a way it does. I kind of buy that, not every tweet should be read into every article and they don't incorporate themselves by reference, but it's something that you should call them on in terms of, well, what can you actually show? At a bare minimum, I think it helps.
I could be wrong about that again. I could be wrong. Like I didn't do journalism anything, so I don't know.
I don't think you can separate the two. Like I don't. So she puts her article out, but then she adds all this extra commentary on her social media feed. To me, that it's like, well, okay, well, if you're adding this as an addendum in your own commentary, then I'm going to treat it like an addendum. I'm going to treat it like it's in the writing, because
I think you should treat it as a factual statement for sure, and it bears on her credibility. It bears on how we should interpret her article for sure. These are her views, and certainly when it comes to the framing argument, I think it's highly relevant there. All I'm just saying is I don't think necessarily a tweet that is giving some opinion that relates topically to a factual article is being incorporated by reference. That is just a way of me saying that like there's additional inferential steps that I think are required to draw that connection, which I think you guys were able to do on the framing issue specifically, and again calling out on the methodology to even make that assertion as a tweet. Right? It bears on the article insofar as it bears on her credibility and her bias, and it stands on its own as an unjustified statement regarding the topic of the article.
So what did you mean when you were pressing me on? You jumped in at various points, and one of the thing that stuck out to me was when you pressed me on would Biden call himself a centrist? What was the point of that interjection?
Yes. So the point of that interjection was to...
Do you guys really think Biden was a centrist? Because I never viewed him as one. But again, I could be wrong about that. I always viewed Biden as a progressive for as long as I'd seen him. But again, my first, I'll be honest with you, like I wasn't really aware of him until he was vice president. So I didn't really think that he was ever, I don't know, like again, he seemed pretty progressive to me. He seemed more progressive than Obama was. If you haven't gone to journalism school, your opinion on the subject means more, actually. I actually think it means less, but outlets need to tend to have a skew, but at the heart of it, every piece should be as straightforward fact as possible. That's why we focus on how different sides cover the same facts. The journalism I'm used to from way back in the day is very dry and to the point. Fact-based pieces when it's not opinion, and when it was opinion, it was very obvious what the bias was. Biden is probably the most progressive president of all time. Yeah, that's what I thought too. That's what I thought too. I thought like, holy shit, this guy is so fucking progressive. Like, this guy might be more progressive than I am, you know? So, he always seemed like, kind of on the progressive side of the Dems, you know? Which is a shame that he got, categorized as like more of a centrist, but I don't know. I think if you factor Senator Biden into the equation, yeah, it can seem more moderate, but President Biden was more progressive than Senator Biden. Okay. Yeah. I'm like a fan of like satire journalism and stuff like that. I think that stuff's funny. Or like people who just make complete mockeries of like some of the right-wing commentators. I do think that stuff is funny, but I don't know. You guys think Tim Heidecker gets tired doing his Alex Jones impression?
Bring to your mind and to all of our minds that there is no like one true objective meaning of the term centrist. And so Biden's centrist, calling himself a centrist, is another man's most progressive president of all time. And what's me bring that up, like wouldn't you, like Biden called himself a centrist, would you say he's not a centrist? If someone's a centrist, would you disclaim that out? It all depends on like what is being meant by the statement.
Wasn't he a big part of Donuts? I don't know if he was a big part of that. Actually, I'm pretty sure Biden was like one of the most pro-trans presidents and politicians that I'd ever seen. Like he really cared about the trans stuff from my impression of him. But
and so me bringing up Biden calls himself a centrist, wouldn't you consider Biden a centrist, is to indicate that like whether the statement is true or not depends on in what sense you mean centrist. And I'll give you at least 3 plausible interpretations of centrist that are not just like fanciful, they're out there, right? There's a centrist in the sense that you mean, which I agree is a plausible centrist. That's the Joe Manchin types, right? There's centrist in some approximate sense of the country, centrist. There's centrist in the sense of internal, not just country, internal democratic divisions. So the centrist Schumer versus the non-centrist AOC Bernie wing of the party. That's looking at internal party divisions. And it wouldn't be accurate to say that Schumer is a centrist the way Manchin is a centrist, right? Because Schumer is, of course, not a centrist in the way that Manchin is a centrist. And then there's a centrist in the sense of political ideology, in which case it would be accurate to say that Schumer, Manchin, you and me are all centrist in the overall scheme.
But even before, as vice president, Biden seemed very, very pro-trans. Like as vice president, he was, so he was more pro-trans than I think Obama was.
Political ideologies where we have like far left Marxists and far right and anarcho-capitalists. So those are 3 plausible senses in which centrist can be used differently.
I think in a vacuum and assuming good faith, that is an important thing to unpack. Like, I think that's like a really fascinating question to me in the modern era, as far as like, what do these terms mean? Like, what does leftist mean? What does liberal mean? What is, it's become so squishy these days that I almost think that these terms do more harm than good. And so I don't know. It's just, so anyway, but that's like a whole separate conversation. But like,
guys, I don't know if I can wait much longer. My birds need me. I know, like, Star, you should wait longer, blah, blah, blah. You can talk to Pisco, but my birds need me.
All I'm trying to say is like, I think what I was trying to press for is just to ask her in what sense she's using centrist, because there's no objectively correct definition of centrist.
But here's the thing, though.
Here's going to lead to you're using it. Yeah.
But so the question itself, like your interjection, it presupposes good faith on the part of Taylor Lorenz. Well, I think it does, because the point of my line of questioning, and Soypo picked up on it, was I don't think that she was using that word in good faith. I think I
agree with you on that.
Positive that she was using it as a pejorative. And the whole point of like pressing her on like, well, how did you come to that conclusion? And then it just laid bare that, number one, she wasn't even prepared to answer like what a centrist is. I mean, that's pretty notable. And then also, like the fact that it applied to Juliana is just like, I think it's pretty silly when you look at her.
Well, no, there are some senses in which she would be a centrist.
Well, sure, but I understand that. Sure, I take your point. But at that point in the conversation, I think in my opinion, I had already kind of exposed that she was using the term in a bad faith way. And so when you did that and interjected the way that you did, I felt like it gave her a lifeline, because now it's like, now I'm fighting you on the subjective nature of it, and we're moving away from the.
Oh, sorry, didn't mean.
And you have to be kind of online, and you have to kind of work.
That's the conclusion, right?
Versed in online politics, but I think it was pretty obvious at that point that she got caught with her hand in the cookie jar. And so when you did that, I was like, well,
dispute. No. So my interjection does not presuppose good faith, and I'll tell you why. I actually think it furthers your argument, if I'm being honest with you. But the first thing to note here is that the term and moniker centrist, whether or not she's using that as a pejorative, that's the conclusion we're trying to demonstrate, right? And we're trying to demonstrate it, presumably, not just the people who already agree with us, but the people who are objective and neutral, people who are first-time watchers of this conversation who don't know anything about it. And so the conclusion we're trying to demonstrate, right, is that she's using this term in a bad faith way. And so we can't presuppose bad faith because that's just begging the question. It's circular, right?
No, that's why I went through like a line of questioning. Like I kind of guided her there.
Hi, Keldosh.
What I'm saying, Pisco, is I think we were already there. Like it was already established to me. Like I didn't need to sharpen the argument more. It was just obvious to anyone watching that it was a joke what she was saying. A centrist is pro-Democrat? What? Excuse me? Like, you know, and then she also like kind of hung herself a little bit with her words because she was claiming like, oh, you know, that's what I called her in the past. And then we find a quote from her, you know, 2 years before the article calling Juliana a progressive. And so it's just, yeah.
Again, that's presupposing that progressive and centrist are counterposed, that they're in contradiction with each other. That's, again, presupposing a meaning of the term centrist. And what I'm trying to...
Oh, I accidentally closed it. Okay, sorry, guys. I can't use a computer. I am so bad at this. There we go. Oh, nope.
Claiming like, oh, you know, that's what I called her in the past. And then we find a quote from her, you know.
Oh, Keldosh, thank you for becoming a member. I'm doing fabulous even in YouTube jail. Oh, cool.
I can just tell you.
Go ahead, tell me.
Because I had
Tell me.
Because I had a conversation with Hutch and he told me what he meant by centrist.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, what I mean by centrist there, everyone kind of knows, is the colloquial definition of centrist. And do you know what he said the colloquial definition of centrist was?
What?
A moderate.
Mm-hmm.
So you got a problem, don't you?
Okay, wait. When he said moderate, what was he talking? What was he saying?
Oh, dude, this discourse is so fucking stupid. This is so fucking stupid. Can we watch this bird again? Let's watch this bird again. Dude, that's so cute. I want to put a little egg on my birds' heads and watch them. I wish my birds sang to me like this. That's my jam, dude. They want to get me dancing in the club, okay? They don't need to play Miley Cyrus, or they don't need to play Kanye, or they don't need to play Justin Bieber or Bruno Mars or any of that, okay? Don't play any of that. Don't play any music for me. Just play this guy's music, this bird. Please, just play him. Just play him, and I will start. I will drop it on the dance floor to this bird singing, okay? Chat, don't tell me you wouldn't be dropping it on the dance floor for this. Yes, you would. He's blinded. He is blinded. But he'll be okay. The owner will take the egg off.
And then it's clear to you, right?
They're still arguing. I have to go tend to my birds, okay? I'm gonna have to live vicariously through your birds because I want one so bad, but too many cats. Aw. I mostly get... I will say I think the birds have healed me a lot. Like there's something so beautiful about, especially like Rabby. I was not expecting it, but there is something so special about caring for like such a delicate creature that relies on you. And you know, you really do become their world. You really do become their world. You are their whole world. Oh my god, I'm gonna miss them so much when I have to... my schedule is changing a bit, so I'm gonna miss them so much. He's being so silly. What a silly bird.
do is I'm trying to have a conversation like two people fucking sitting on the bench from the park, and you're trying to have it like we're all opening the fucking debate pedophile books and trying to Yu-Gi-Oh card our
Jesus. Taking care of Cassie when I took her in from the streets and raising her kittens was a great healing time for me. Oh, that's so sweet. Okay, back to the Hutch Pisco debate that I don't want to listen to anymore
me.
of.
Like I didn't need to sharpen the argument more. It was just obvious to anyone watching that it was a joke what she was saying. A centrist is pro-Democrat? What? Excuse me? Like, you know, and then she also like kind of hung herself a little bit with her words because she was claiming like, oh, you know, that's what I called her in the past. And then we find a quote from her, you know, 2 years before the article calling Juliana progressive. And so it's just, yeah.
Again, that's presupposing that progressive and centrist are counterposed, but they're in contradiction with each other. But that's, again, presupposing a meaning of the term centrist. And what I'm trying to, I'm not at all pinging you for going down this line. I'm not. I really am not. There's a very specific sense in which I'm critical and exhausted by that line of question. It's disputing the actual, in fact, trueness of whether Olivia Giuliani is, in fact, a centrist. But the reason why what I'm saying here doesn't presuppose good faith on Taylor Lorenz's part is you can just ask her, and we can just say, well, in what sense do you mean centrist? And a question doesn't presuppose good faith. So that question doesn't presuppose good faith. And when you ask her, and she says something like, well, I just mean Democrat aligned.
But we had at that point.
Furthers your point. Okay,
we already had asked her.
Okay, but I heard, and maybe I'm remembering it wrong, that there was we were actually disputing whether she was like lying about whether Olivia Giuliani was a centrist and like disputing the factual accuracy of that claim. And that's what I'm saying I think is a waste of the time. What we should do, I think, is use that definition that she's provided, Democrat aligned, which by the way, to me, is not an implausible definition that someone could mean when it comes to centrists.
And what's
People
going
use
on
it that
there?
way.
By the way, what's going on? When did Pisco stop being on camera for shit? Why is this looping background going on?
I can't get the full context of what was actually
Okay, so then you have a
happening.
problem, right? So I'm representing
Dude, this guy is hogging all the time with
some sense of
Pisco.
centrist, which refers to moderate. And then you say, well, I think that what he means by that is someone who's kind of like maybe Republican sometimes, maybe Democrat some of the times. But then I offer you the counterexample,
No,
which
that's
is true.
whoa. Moderate and what?
I'm gonna murder myself. This is how I feel. This is how I feel. I don't think I have time to watch ContraPoints versus Brianna Joy Gray. We might have to do that another day. I can't believe I decided to like actually go live today. Dude, Lena Dunham looks really rough. I hope she gets better soon.
Hassan Piker technically is Democratic Party aligned, right?
Well, I think that shows the problem in her usage there and makes it implausible, right? That point is a great point that demonstrates why what I'm offering here furthers the argument of bad faith. Why? Because what you just observed, that if what you mean by centrist is
I see what he's trying to do. I get him.
well, fuck, tell me what you mean by centrist. He means, I mean colloquially a centrist. And I'm like, okay, well, what do you think colloquially a centrist is? And he said, well, I would take it to be like a moderate person. Essentially, that's what we cashed out. And he accepted that, basically as a distillation. And so you could take that a different way, be like, well, what does moderate mean? And we can get into that. And there could be a sense of moderate in which you're correct. Moderate means sometimes Republicans, sometimes Democrats, really kind of middle of the line. But later when he used the term to refer to how Biden is running,
I
Biden
have other
ran.
things to do with my time. I shouldn't have gotten into a Twitter argument with him, honestly. Honestly, like, though me on Twitter is me trolling, like 70% of the time, I would say it's me trolling on Twitter, and people shouldn't take me seriously. I'm gonna be real with you guys. Like, I just thought it would be funny to get super pedantic with him back, so I just started asking questions about everything. So, like, so
I share his conclusion.
Because honestly, that's the only thing that really makes sense. Because, like,
did you see me?
Because you said you agree, right? You said you agree with Hutch
I'm
on his description of Taylor's comments, right?
So I agree with that. And by the way, the evidence.
And yet you still had a
can you
3-hour
pause?
argument.
Can you pause real quick? The reason that you know that I agree with Hutch on those claims is because there's a VOD on my YouTube channel of me screaming my throat out at Aaron making the same points about framing. So you know that I'm not bullshitting you, that's my point, right? Because I couldn't have predicted this moment in the future that we were going to have Taylor on the podcast. You know I share that conclusion, and those videos those are around. You can see in linear time that I share that position so much so passionate that I'm actually losing my temper against someone who's more left-wing than me in that conversation. Right. So I'm not bullshitting you when I say that I share that conclusion. I've shown it, and I've shown my passion about it. The problem is that the people can't handle is that Hutch made a bad argument, and that it's not me who's fixated on the objective true definitions of the term centrist. It's you guys. I'm the one who's being way more open to different possibilities and ambiguities and contextual circumstances. And that's why I'm saying, hey, let's get out of this domain of trying to prove that there's one definitive colloquial definition that applies. And instead of that, let's just focus on the argument of framing and bad faith and get on the table what her meaning of the term is.
So all of this, all the conversations that have happened since then, was just because you
How
thought
do you feel
Hutch
about
asked a
Taylor
bad question?
Lorenz, Star? I think she's cuckoo with her political takes, but there's some small part of me that also like sees another very annoying woman on the internet and like nods at them, you know? So if that makes sense, I think she's still, I still think she's very cuckoo with her political takes, and I do think she's dishonest and slippery, but. Yeah, I think she's actually pretty cuckoo with her political takes, but
Only reason that she got out of that conversation
No.
in the way that she did is because of what you did going after Hutch the way you did.
No.
this guy's kind of being a dick.
So you don't
Let me
think if
tell
you
you-
didn't fight with him on that question, it would have happened, like the same thing would have happened anyway?
So, like, I have to just be honest with you, right? Like,
Yeah.
you can take away from that conversation that Taylor was destroyed and demolished, or you could take the view that she wasn't, and it's my fault. You can't do both. So which is it?
Wait, repeat that.
It can't be the case that Taylor was so obviously cooked, and I snatched defeat from the jaws of victory, and like prevented her from being owned, but also she was owned. Right?
No, it could be both because
It can be both,
she
okay.
could be owned, but the conversation afterwards, the 48.
He's a little too lawyer brained, I'll say that, because I do think multiple realities can exist, you know. But
No,
bro,
I'm gonna
because if you didn't start that argument,
so I'll say this. I do think I don't think it's like a one or the other thing, but I also don't think Pisco is responsible for like Taylor not getting owned or whatever. I think Taylor can get owned. I don't think Pisco's responsible for anything there, but we're almost at what is a woman levels of who the fuck cares? It's pretty good. What's up, Chuck? It's pretty good. I have other things to do.
Having 4 people, or with the appearance of 4 people, on a panel shouting her ear off of whether Olivia Giuliani is a centrist or not a centrist, unless you're already bought in to the fact that Taylor sucks, doesn't look good.
No one ever said that it had to be a 4-on-1 pileup. All I'm saying is that you could have played the little devil's advocate because for like 80% of the conversation, that's what you were doing. You popped in a couple times and like not even defended Taylor, but just kind of, gave her a little backup,
Please
like,
play the dance.
gave her some water.
Sometimes she was
but
right.
at the end
wait,
of the,
wait, wait, wait,
but
so
at
can
the
I
end of the
pause?
conversation, it derailed into.
Wait, can we pause right
this.
there? So sometimes she was correct. Should I have withheld my agreement with her when she was correct?
No, did I say that?
Okay, so then sometimes when for example, on the point about disclosure, she was more correct than Hutch was as an English reading matter.
Doesn't matter. Not
Okay.
part of this conversation.
Okay,
So
so
what
then-
I'm focusing on is what everybody came out of that conversation talking about and thinking about. And none of it was about the great conversation, the great line of questioning that Hutch was posing towards her. Everybody now is only talking about you and Hutch in another 3-4 hour conversation.
And why
about
is
words.
that, right? So if we're going to do this meta thing, let's do it for real. All right, so let's step back. Why is it such a big deal?
What do you mean? Why is because it's drama, it's fun and it's interesting. Duh.
Okay.
Because you went on a show, you both willingly
Oh my God,
went on a
this bird
show
is-
and had,
This bird is so talented, guys.
of course.
All right. So, I also talk to other people and I'm pedantic in other exchanges in highly technical ways. I did so with Michael Tracy.
Yeah, and this
So
is a thing that happens
like,
a lot of times. And
you agree? This is like a
not every
very
time
minor.
You do anything
this is
is
like
bad.
right. So what I'm saying is like this is like a very minor point to get like as mad as people are about me saying that I'm like a piece of shit. You should have seen, by the way, some of these chats. They're insane about me. And
People are.
So can
you
you
know
explain
that people online? You know that people online overreact to everything, and it's all a bunch of fucking high school drama shit. Right? So don't be surprised when people have strong opinions.
The inclination, perhaps, for why you think that this is a point of significance and why now people.
What is he opening?
I mean, I'm seeing this discourse about whether Pisco was correct to interject about whether Olivia Giuliana's a centrist. Like the reason this is happening is because it's not really about this, right? It's not about it. This is all a pretext. The feeling is, regardless of who's right or wrong, and I'm right in this conversation. Regardless of that, though, it's that people felt that I was giving Taylor cover. That's why. I think some people they view it as being a traitor.
Some people might think that way. And listen, let them think that way. I don't give a shit. That's not what I think.
Chat, this
all
is
I
really
see
me.
is a pattern of behavior. Is you guys having constant arguments like this, and it's like.
All right, let's. You haven't demonstrated that.
This is also
so you're saying that you don't have like
we have arguments,
frequent
for sure.
argument. Okay, that's exactly what I was saying.
That's what I mean. But I thought when you said like this, it's like where you're sweeping for lefties and people think.
Oh no, that's happened like once or twice in the past. But like you'd like the what was it like you defending fucking Hassan in the airport story,
right?
Defending
Still,
the H3 lawsuit.
And I'm right
bullshit.
about that.
No,
I'm
you're
right
not.
about that too. And
no,
I'm right
because and listen, Pisco, no one likes the I'm always right about everything guy.
Okay, but you can think
that's
I'm
all
wrong.
you are.
You can think that I'm wrong or whatever.
Wait,
but
sorry.
Wrong or whatever. But
okay, so I am the person who's always right about everything, and everybody loves me. So I mean,
people disagree with me all the time. My own mods disagree with me on my channel. The reason that this is a point of contention, it has nothing to do with who's correct and who's incorrect. You can kind of tell anyway. I'm always satisfied when I see the replies to some of my arguments, man. It's all ad hoc.
I do think it's kind of funny. I think Pisco's generally a nice guy, you know. So I do think the guy who's talking to him is kind of being a dick. I will say, I don't like Erin, though. I'll say that much. Or Straight Raid, I don't like her. She had no reason to insult me, and she did when the whole like Cowhead saga was happening, and so I've lost like basically all respect for her. And yeah, that's what I'll say. I don't understand anybody who talks to her, but you know, whatever. So I've lost all respect for her. Like she had no reason to attack me and insult my intelligence and insult other parts of me. Like she had no reason to, and she decided to. So I have no respect for her. But yeah, I think Pisco's a nice guy, though.
The ambiguity in how Hutch might have been referring to centrists in one context vis-a-vis Biden versus the standard colloquial definition. You must agree with me that there's multiple plausible definitions of centrist. There's not just one true definition, definitive definition for centrist. You agree with me?
Yeah, there's one that most people use and understand, right? Like when I say that people use that word in like 60%, 75% of the time people use the word, they mean it this way, right?
That's a claim you need to justify. You agreed?
Okay, let's do it. I know exactly how we can justify this, Pisco, and we can get outside of all this.
That's not good for that bird.
We just got to ask some people, right?
You're not gonna.
Well, what? We can go on the street. We can ask people like how to use this word. Talk to 100 people and see what the average people use the word.
And until you do that, you agree it's an unjustified claim, right?
No,
love
then
this.
yours would be
No.
unjustified too, right?
Wait, I'm not making a claim about what's the predominant.
You're defending your point, right? You're defending your usage of the word, right?
I'm defending
They're
the
having
fact
a
that there's
spaghetti
multiple
party.
plausible definitions. You're the one making the claim that there's.
I'm
a
the one saying that
75%
most
chance.
people understand it to mean one way. But you're making the opposite claim, right?
I'm not making that claim either. I'm saying I
Yes,
don't
you
fucking
are.
know. I don't know which is the dominant usage of the term centrist. Which sense is it?
That's you've got to
I'm lying?
Yeah.
Wait, how do you
Magical.
figure
This
that
is
I'm
magical.
lying?
I love that.
Because if someone sat down, if you were walking down the street and I gave you the mom and the dad, which
Dude,
one's a
this dude is
centrist,
spitting
would be-
bars.
But that doesn't
You wouldn't
prove,
be. If it was
that
me
doesn't
and you,
prove-
we're at
but
Times
that doesn't
Square.
prove what you wanted to prove. Even if that were true, which I could test, I would ask you, like, what do you mean by the centrist? But even if that were
You
true,
wouldn't because people don't fucking talk like that.
Wait, no, but even if I,
Are you are you
Yeah,
that
wait, let's pause. Let's not
are
get
you
them
that
meta.
pointed?
Let's not
All
get
my
them meta.
homies
All right,
love
so
Start. Hell yeah.
if
Thanks.
it were
fucking
the
everyday life?
So if it were the case that you were correct, that I instantly knew what you meant, that wouldn't prove your claim. Your claim is something like 75%.
I guess it's unfalsifiable, right?
Well, then it's by definition. Well, I don't know if it's the fact that it's unjustified makes it unfalsifiable, makes it unjustified, whatever. But I'm just saying, right now you haven't justified it, right? You're making the claim and you agree it's unjustified.
Yeah, no one can justify it. It's impossible to justify, right?
No, it wouldn't be impossible. No, I'm telling you what it would. All it would
Short
take.
of doing legwork.
No. Well, first
Yes,
of all,
it is.
that's one method. But another method is
This
a
is
dictionary.
nasty.
The dictionary is not answering the question.
Okay,
The
then I'm sorry.
The dictionary does not say how people, on average, use that word.
No,
right?
but that's some evidence, right?
Yeah,
It's
it can be
some
pointed
evidence.
of it, and
It might
you
lead
know
to an
what? I
inference
look
one
at
way
that word centrist definition, and I'm looking at it, and I see it, and I think of the American political parties, and I think of centrist. It's not going in the middle of the Democratic aisle.
Okay, so that's why I'll ask you, right? Like, do you think that a MAGA person is a centrist?
No.
Right? And if 51% of the population were MAGA people, would you say MAGA people are centrists?
Guys, I think I was meant to be a bird. I think I was meant to be a bird.
Of the population, what would the other part of the population be?
All right, let's
I
say
should have been
80%
born
of
a
the
bird.
population is MAGA. Would you say being a MAGA is centrist?
This is
In that
literally me.
country?
Yeah.
This is also
Yeah.
literally me.
Okay. I mean, it's not clear to me, right, that there's this overwhelming sense of centrist, which is always
this is me
indexed
too.
in this population way. Some people use centrist to mean
That's
to.
what I don't believe, man.
Well,
I don't
okay,
know how everybody
but
thinks
how
that
do you-
everybody
so
thinks
how-
it that way but you.
Wait, okay, so you're making a claim that there is a definitive predominant sense of centrist, and that's not a justified claim, is it?
It is.
In virtue of what is
Because-
justified?
Because 3 out of
That's
the
me
4
also.
Livermore co-hosts understood it.
No, come on.
I'm just saying, is that not true?
Aw.
No, it's first
Everybody
of
else
all,
in
it's
that
not
conversation knew what he meant, except for you.
true. What did he
You
mean?
were the only one who was
So
confused.
no, wait. So we can do this again. What do you
Yep.
think Hutch meant by centrist?
We're not-
That's the problem, right? Because then we're going to run into the very same thing that we stopped.
No,
right?
no.
The reason we stopped is because it was an issue.
You are creating the problem, Pisco. You are creating the problem. Because why did everyone else know what it meant?
Don't bother the cat. That's not nice.
So
Don't
you're
kick the
claiming that
cat.
everyone knew what it meant. I'm asking you what it meant. You're part of everyone, right? What do you mean?
That's a fight you can't win.
You tell me.
You should not pick
I'm
fights
telling you
you
that I
can't
think he
win.
probably meant moderate.
After the conversation.
No, I mean I take centrist to be a moderate. And so when someone generally says centrist, especially in the context, by the way, the article is written in the context of the Democratic
moderate
Party.
what?
By the way, this article,
A moderate what?
a moderate by itself is no additional thing there, right?
Aw, so
And just you know, anything
cute.
you want to say about like it being a modifier to the an already understood context of Democrat, that's true of Taylor's article. I'm afraid to say, because in Taylor's article, it's talking about
Why
the
are they
Democratic
giving him
influencers,
only a
and so
job?
the same
He's
thing
not
about the
meant to have a
context, you know,
job.
indicating clearly that we're talking.
I'm muting it. Why did they give a monkey a job? He's not meant to have a job. Monkeys should not have to do work like that. Good. Aw, so cute. I swear. Oh, this one.
Not even look.
Oh no. Aww. The owl, they had to give the owl, I guess, medicine or whatever, and he cried.
Not even look.
Poor baby. No, baby, no. Oh, no, baby. Oh, give him a hug. Mm.
Again, this is such a fucking stupid question. I can't comprehend it.
So when you ask better, I'm assuming that you mean would I prefer it? That's how I take that question. Would I prefer it?
Whoa.
So no.
Again, no one has fucking conversation like this, Pisco. This is the entire point.
Okay, so I'm asking you what you mean by better then. Sorry that you never have these conversations. Do you mean my preference, your preference, some intersubjective
Just that
preference, someone else?
the general view, the general outcome, if I believe if you're a liberal and you're
Index to
on
my
both
views?
sides-
Index to who? People come away different feelings.
Honestly,
He's so
it's not worth
talented.
explaining if you don't understand. Because this doesn't need explanation. Everybody who understands English, who's had normal conversations with people, understands that, hey, the conversation, the outcome of the conversation would have probably been better.
On their own views?
Our group, our side. Maybe we would have had more healthy conversations. We wouldn't have had a 4-hour argument with one of your co-hosts again. I think not having arguments with friends is a
That bird is so talented. I just woke up to tortured animal sounds. Thanks. Sorry. No, he's not being tortured. He was just getting his medicine. My bird sometimes makes noises. Uh-oh. YouTube is not responding. Uh-oh. What happened, YouTube? Did I get yeeted?
My goal in a conversation is to get to clarity and to have good conversations that I like, and not just to be a potted plant and just like be thinking, how am I going to avoid fights? That seems like a chicken shit thing to do. Would you respect me if I was just trying to not give my actual take and to like be just hyper focused on not starting infights in liberal circles?
No, I wouldn't like that, and that's not what I asked.
Okay, so how do you want me to comport my conduct? I'm giving genuine reactions and actual problems in these lines, and one of the problems of the lines is assuming some sort of objective notion of centristism to which Olivia Juliana does not comply. That's what I'm having an issue with, and that's a genuine concern. And no one has been able to raise and say like that is not an actual issue with the claim. Like that was an issue.
It's your behavior, Pisco.
Okay.
Because it's like there's hyper fixation on the definitions, on what exactly do you mean. It's I don't know. It's frustrating as fuck, bro. Like
I'm gonna print this out and frame it.
No, I've never come out of a conversation, a
press
long,
refresh.
arduous conversation that you've had, feeling like, oh, okay, everything makes so much more sense now.
Okay.
But that never happens.
So after this conversation,
I've been waiting to talk to
do you have
Pisco.
a better sense of my position? Could you restate it?
Your position, from what I can understand it, is that you wanted Hutch to be very specific and very clear about what he meant when he was using centrist, right?
No, that's not my position.
What is it then?
My position is I wanted Hutch not to dispute the factual accuracy of Olivia Juliana's centrist or not. I wanted us to focus on, because that's up to reasonable dispute. There's reasonable, plausible ways in which she is. What I wanted to focus on was the more important point, which was Taylor being using it as a pejorative. That was the more important point, and that's what I wanted to focus on.
Okay,
Oh my
if
god,
that
this
was
is
your
so
goal,
cute.
I don't know how you thought your reaction was going to get you there. That's what I don't understand.
No,
Because from my perspective,
okay.
from my perspective in the conversation,
How else would I have raised that?
I completely understood what Hutch was saying. I don't know why you didn't. I don't understand why IRI understood what
wait,
Hutch was saying.
what was
and I
Hutch
don't
saying?
understand
Rose
why
claws,
Silly Pill
it will look at you in
understood-
disbelief, but if you then touch its beak,
I'll
it
ask
might
you,
act
what was
almost like
Hutch
a
saying when
dog,
he said Olivia
leaning.
Juliana is not a
Oh,
centrist?
I
What
wanna-
did he mean by
I want to
that?
crow
I
so
can't explain it to
badly.
you.
Why not?
Yeah, you
You
failed
said you know what it
miserably.
is.
I guess it's one of the. I guess it's one of those things
Wait.
like love. You just have to. You,
Wait,
you
I'm
you
not
just
being
know.
mean, okay? I'm not being
So you're telling me
mean.
you understand it, but you can't explain what it is?
I've
like
already
a-
explained it, and we're
it's
just
like a semantic
we're circling the
primitive?
drain again. We're
like-
circling the drain again.
It's like a semantic primitive. It's like a
Guys, this is like literally the worst of my OCD. I feel like like this is me talking to me. Like listening to that is listening to me trying to reason with me. Like that's how bad it is. And I'm like, no, you fucking idiot. And then the other part of me is like, but what if this? But what if this? But what if this? You know, and my other side is like, you fucking idiot, you fuck. Yeah.
okay. That's just another claim that like I never admit when
Yeah,
I'm wrong.
I know that's exactly. I mean, that's all humans do. We make claims about what we think about other people, man. That's how
Okay.
humans talk, right?
make
And then I'm like, let's go over this one more time. And then I'm like, okay.
accusations
Holy
for my life.
shit, dude!
All right.
What is happening? Okay,
But,
what
like,
is
Come on, you know.
this?
So what was the point of that statement?
I
because,
don't like
Trying
that.
to paint me like
It was
somebody who
cir-
just made like who
Yeah,
just
it was to
does
emphasize
something,
that it's a
acting like
baseless
I
claim,
say
yes.
stuff, acting like I say stuff like that, and you don't.
Yeah, it was to emphasize that it's a baseless claim, that you're accusing me of essentially being malicious without any evidence.
But
And you don't realize you're dropping bombs, right? They don't land for you, and I'm like not every second like gonna bring it up and cry about it.
what?
But
Ew.
you're dropping bombs. You're like, you are just stubborn as fuck, and you don't ever want to admit when you're wrong. And because I take it off the take it on the cheek or whatever, you're impugning my character, and you're like, I can't believe you would be sarcastic with your little comment there. Like, you're impugning my character.
Mhm.
You're attacking me, and I'm like, yeah, it's a baseless claim. And when you say it's so obvious what Hutch meant when Olivia Galanis, when he said Olivia Galanis is not a centrist, and you're like, everyone knows what it is. How can you not know it? I'm like, okay, well then, can you tell me what it is? And you're like, no, I can't because I've already told
explained
you.
it
I
to you
can't.
earlier, but again, we just circle the drain. We honestly, it's just circling. the
Tamam,
drain.
buraya
Like,
gelir
and you know what?
misin? Gel, buraya gel.
I could be
Buraya
completely
gel.
fucking wrong. I'll admit that. I have no idea. I didn't even. If I
Buraya gel.
listen to the conversations again, like 3 more times, maybe I'll come away with
Buraya
a
gel.
different
Burada dur.
perspective. And I'll, you know what?
Well,
if I
good
do,
job.
I will come back on this.
I appreciate
and
that.
He
apologize
didn't
to
stay
you.
long enough.
And I would apologize.
Watch it again. Okay,
Buraya
so
gel
I'll
dedim.
tell you one more thing. Like, watch it again with a lens. And I don't hate you or anything. And I'm not trying to like just be mean. It's just like sometimes, fuck, like I am not trying to be bad faith. I'm trying to.
Tamam,
communicate
buraya
something.
gelir
When
misin?
you watch it
Gel,
again.
buraya gel.
Okay, I appreciate that. When you watch it again, just notice when and if you feel Taylor, and it's not because they're not just Hutch. Taylor and Hutch are like factually disputing whether she's a centrist or not. And when I pipe up, and notice if you're able to catch me saying we should focus on whether she's bad faith, and let's ask her the questions for that. Notice and just keep an eye on when I do it, because that I think is the best indication of my intent, that I'm not trying to protect her. The evidence that I'm not trying to protect her is that I literally say in the conversation, let's ask her the questions related to her bad faith. And that would mean that I'm trying to focus on it. And so keep an ear out for that. Watch it without reactions to it. Just like
I
watch
can't
it
wait
and
any
notice
longer,
what I'm saying there.
dudes.
And there are times when I get like prickly at Hutch in terms of my yes or no questions, but the truth of why I do that is because he's evasive. He's evasive. And it's frustrating when someone that we don't like, for example, you know, one of these lefties or whatever is being evasive. It's frustrating me when anyone's being evasive. There was times when Taylor was being evasive, and you can see me call it out. There are times when I don't need to call it out because it's already being called out. It's frustrating. So that's why I'm just like, come on, Hutch, just answer the question. Are you making this accusation about it being a standard contract thing? Are you saying this or that? Like, that's why sometimes on my face you can see me being annoyed. But if you actually follow what I'm saying there, I think it's obvious that I'm not trying to avoid a conversation about Taylor's good or bad faith. That's exactly the opposite of what I'm doing.
Can I ask one more question?
I was waiting to call and talk to Pisco, but he spent like the past however long talking to this douchebag. Sorry, whoever you are. But like I don't even know that I think I'm a little too good faith for this conversation to make it good content.
Right? It looks bad for, and I told you, it's not the major motivation for why I stepped up, but the dog pile looks bad for us. You get that? We're protecting. So when I have as part of my consideration, like, damn, I should probably shut
Dog piles
up.
not necessarily look bad, though, by the way.
I think it does
Dog
look bad. I
piles to
agree with him
neutral
on that.
people and to who don't have the prior that Taylor is the devil.
Well, that's like
Will
see
look
people saying
bad.
like the Pod Save America thing was a dog pile, even though it was just one-on-one, but still like a hostile interview,
says-
a dog pile. Like
Who says that a one-on-one is a dog pile? Maybe that's some. Maybe people
I
use
mean,
that
dog
way. I
pile.
don't
You
know.
need multiple people, but that's why I said hostile interview and dog pile both kind of had the same thing.
Guys,
Have
I'm
the
not
same
saying
results.
I'm not saying I didn't say that I wasn't concerned about the optics of a dog pile. What I'm contradicting is the notion that I'm protecting Taylor by commenting on that. I'm protecting ourselves by commenting on that, number one. And number two, it's giving Hutch plenty of room, which I did, to make devastating points regarding some of the aspects of the article, which I agreed with. And I didn't interrupt him then, right? So you have to make sense of the entirety of the exchange here. And me saying that, like, yeah, the optics of a dog pile look bad isn't me being like, oh, so this is me trying to like baby Taylor. It's me trying to be like, hey, this looks bad for us. Because it does.
I still don't understand how this all happened.
What
Weird, and it just
what
always
is-
happens with you. It's just fucking weird.
What befuddles? What befuddles? It's because
I don't know, because I don't see the same rabid disagreements and arguments over like specific points of language with many other people. You're one of like the few people that I see have these conversations where I can't give you a pinpoint example, but I have a feeling you'll have a conversation with somebody for 3 hours, and for like 2 hours of that conversation, it'll be about like a 5% chunk of the entire point of the conversation, right? So you'll spend 80% of the time talking about 5% of the topic. And I feel like that you do that more than anybody else. Now, I could admit there's probably other people out there who might do it more. Like, please don't take this the wrong way. Like Andrew Wilson. You're not like Andrew Wilson. I would, yeah, no, I'm not saying you are. He's the only other example I could think of in my head about somebody who argues definitions like in like beyond the weeds. I'm not saying you're at the same level. If he's a 10, you're like a 2. But it's kind of in the same vein. Like, I'll watch a debate with Andrew Wilson, and at the end of it, you're just like, well, what the fuck were we even talking about in that conversation? And unfortunately, that's the way I feel when I'm listening to conversations with you sometimes. Now, I will say, maybe half the time I'm listening, I'm working. So maybe I'm missing parts of it, and it's just like, shit, Pisco, it's bad luck that for some reason every time I'm listening, it's whatever, I'm not hearing it. But I don't think it's malicious. I don't think it's bad. But like people have feelings for a reason. And like I think I don't view you in a bad faith way that I like would have any negative poison in my mind about you.
I appreciate that.
That would
the fact that I'm
sully my
entertaining these
thoughts.
conversations and that I'm like spending time on it, I think should be indicated that like I'm open to the critiques. I leave my calls open for people to talk about it.
Oh no! Listen. I think you're willing to take critique. I never said that was a bad thing. And plus, like, I think you also fucking love this. Like, don't get me
this
wrong. I like
guy-
arguing too.
This guy has been how long has this guy been talking for? I am going to die.
I can't comprehend why you did that. It's just like I see these conversations. And I like you, and I know you, and I like Hutch, and I like everybody involved in the Liberal Land podcast. I like Soy Pill, I like Josiah.
It's gonna continue. Everything's chilled. We have these confrontations all the time. It shouldn't be like this like crisis moment every time. And by the way, people are like,
you also helped create the crisis.
Well,
both
yeah,
of you.
Part of it, like I poked the bear a little bit, but I've always done that, right? So when you see my tweet, my thread or whatever, I do the exact same thing that Adam friended. I have a thread of him. I did the exact same thing with the insurrection files. When Rob Noor, when I caught out Rob Noor for saying admitting he was bad faith, So sometimes I want to have a place where people can see actually people do use the term moderate and centrist interchangeably. No one can say that they don't, that I'm crazy for that. People do describe themselves, politicians, as both progressive and moderate. I had examples of that. I put it up at least 4. There's more, by the way, of people being described and describing themselves as moderate and progressive. Actually, it's the case that the dictionary uses them as synonyms, that is to say centrist and moderate. And so I like it that there's a place where people can go to know the facts of the matter and to know my position on it. And that's not, I'm not like, this is not any different to how I act. I do those threads. I've always done those threads. I do these kinds of conversations. I've always done these kinds of conversations.
And sometimes people have a disagreement with you, and they'll like 90% of your threads, and the 10% that they have a disagreement with, they're gonna talk back. And it just, like I said, I might want to watch the conversation again.
Watch it again.
I want to go to the point where you interrupted, and I want to see if I can't pick that out.
Yeah.
But I listened to the Hutch conversation or the Live and Learn ones and that ones, and
we ended the Hutch conversation super good, and
you always end this conversation.
I really
good. You guys are always boys at the end. Everyone knows it.
And the Hutch, the first part of that conversation.
This guy is insufferable to listen to. Like, he came in so hard against Pisco, and now he's being kind of, I don't know. This guy is kind of insufferable to listen to.
And I'm like, first of all, we want a little bit of energy on it, and we've had like 2 really good weeks in terms of viewership and having big name guests on it, and we have everyone from Destiny to Hassan to Majority Report reacting to our conversations, and that's all good. That's all good stuff.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So it's there's no bad feelings on my end other than like just the constant accusations, which they're kind of, you have to be as the duck, let it flow off your back.
Let the water flow off.
But I am going to defend myself when people are making false and smears against me. I'm going to defend myself, and I'm not going to be like,
oh, never said you shouldn't.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Then we're good.
Then
we're
we
good,
are
brother.
good. Oh, God damn. Dude.
Don't worry, man. We're good. Shit.
You're a pedantic little man. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Listen, hey, go get some rest. Go watch your hockey.
So.
And
game's over. They fucking suck.
If you watch it again, you want to talk again, feel free. Okay.
I will. Yeah, I'll message you. I appreciate the conversation.
Yeah.
You have a good
No
night.
worries, brother. Yep. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Okay. All right. Let me just do my Duolingo real quick because I have a streak going on. I don't know if you guys want to hear that.
That actually was really homoerotic towards the end, and I feel very uncomfortable after listening to that. I've never signed off on a phone call like that, ever.
Maybe I should, no, it won't. Complete these. Oh, okay, wait. I'll just do this. And it's...
Like, I'm actually deeply uncomfortable with the way that phone call ended. I'm deeply uncomfortable. I would, like... deeply uncomfortable.
Cool.
こんにちは、ケンです。
こんにちは、Kenです. Oh, good evening, I'm Ken. That would be Ken des.
Ken des.
Konbanwa.
Anyways, I left the waiting call because I have to go take care of my birds. So I'll see you guys later. It was fun. It was fun trying to talk to Pisco and not being successful. So that's how boys sign off on calls. Don't hate. I'll hate as much as I want to. Yeah, I just can't. I can't, man. I can't. Dude, that was so... Is that how men actually sign off their calls with each other? Because I just can't. I've never done that on a call, ever. It was very painful. It was so painful. Ugh. That was disgusting.